The world of Evil Queenmaker unfolds, a strategy simulation game where players become tutors in the demon realm, tasked with raising the lowest-ranking demon king into a supreme ruler. Exclusively reviewed by Shroomhua Review. Get ready for an epic full Manhua Recap. In this place, absolute power is everything, and a single wrong choice could mean total annihilation. Sit back, grab your snacks, and witness the rise of the ultimate demon sovereign. The game quickly garnered immense praise for its detailed setting and rich story, successfully modernizing the beloved simulation games of a previous generation. It dominated online communities, with fans spewing endless praise and fiercely defending it against toxic haters. Our protagonist, a dedicated player, was one such incredibly loyal fan. But why did he call himself a pushover? The reason would soon become explosively clear. Because despite its initial promise, the game's direction plummeted into an absolute disaster. Less than a year after its release, a DLC launched by the developers introduced a host of disappointing endings, completely abandoning all logic and narrative integrity. The protagonist, once a devoted fan, transformed into a scathing critic, posting harsh reviews fueled by pure affection for what the game could have been. He decried the betrayal of the Demon King he worked so hard to raise, criticizing the forced and unnecessary plot twists that infested the new content. He questioned why the developers would release such a concept-rich game only to ruin it, disrespecting the classic simulation games it was supposed to honor. Then, a message from the Evil Queen developers appeared, mockingly suggesting he create a better ending himself. The protagonist's face contorted in disbelief and rage. He cursed the developers, unable to comprehend the sheer audacity of their response. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from his computer screen, engulfing him in a torrent of digital energy. The protagonist was violently pulled into the screen, plummeting into a swirling vortex of purple and black energy. Disoriented and falling through the void, Rain questioned his very existence and where he was being transported. He continued to fall, a massive, ominous red eye appearing below him, seemingly watching his descent. As he plunged further, a shadowy, demonic figure materialized within a burst of energy, its form indistinct yet menacing. Rain's vision was consumed by a blinding light as the shock finally overwhelmed him. He awoke with a throbbing headache, the world still a blur. As his vision cleared, Rain found himself standing before a grand, majestic castle, its towering spires reaching for the sky. He wondered if he was dreaming, yet the scene felt strangely familiar. He swore he had seen this place before. His gaze landed on a flag fluttering above, bearing a distinctive crest. It was unmistakable, he had seen it in Evil Queenmaker. A wave of disbelief washed over him. Why was this game world so vividly real before his eyes? The chilling realization struck him, this was truly insane. He had been transmigrated into the game. This meant he was standing before the castle of Seer, the demon king he was meant to tutor. Just then, an elderly butler approached, greeting Rain as Sir Nahan. Rain, still reeling, wondered who this Nahan could be. Rain's confusion deepened as he took in his surroundings, his golden eyes widening in surprise. He recognized the butler. It was Kane, the loyal guardian from the game. Kane confirmed his identity, addressing Rain as Sir Nahan and expressing gratitude for his arrival as Seer's tutor. It was all real. Kane bowed respectfully, grateful that someone had volunteered to educate their young demon king. Rain, however, was still trying to process the fact that he was now the tutor. The developer's taunting message echoed in his mind. Was this what they meant? He was being forced to create a better ending himself. Meanwhile, in her chambers, Seer, the young demon king, stood before a mirror. Eldon, her attendant, remarked that she had tried a more modest look and asked if Seer disliked it. Seer, clutching her teddy bear, admitted it wasn't that she disliked it, but it felt a bit awkward. Eldon's eyes sparkled with affection, finding Seer utterly adorable in her new attire. Eldon reassured Seer that she was likely just nervous because her new tutor was arriving, to which Seer pondered if that was truly the case. To calm her nerves, Eldon mentioned that Chef Mark had prepared a special treat for Seer, a delicious pudding. Seer thanked Eldon, who humbly dismissed her gratitude while internally gushing about how truly adorable Her Majesty was. A knock came at the door. It was Kane, announcing his presence to Lady Seer. Kane informed Seer that her new tutor was waiting to meet her. Seer, with a newfound air of dignity, acknowledged Kane and declared she would proceed to the audience chamber immediately. Kane watched, deeply moved, remarking that Lady Seer had become so dignified, truly befitting a demon king. He felt his loyal service was complete. And indeed, Seer's journey to dignity was a path paved in hardship. She was the sole blood relative of Seer von Devata, the former demon king, once ranked second in the entire demon realm. However, a devastating war erupted 2 years prior, leading to a crushing defeat for their forces. In the aftermath, Seer von Devata himself perished in battle, along with his most loyal aides. Tragically, this left a mere 5-year-old Seer to ascend to the daunting position of Demon King, thrust into leadership amidst the chaos. Her only comfort, a small stuffed bear, seemed to fall from her grasp, mirroring the instability of her new reality. And with the realm in disarray, her fragile position as Demon King was constantly in jeopardy, a shadow looming over her reign. In a brighter moment, a young seer, now in a school uniform, politely instructed her royal tutor to speak comfortably, stating that she considered herself a disciple to him, not a demon king.
Cain, ever the loyal attendant, couldn't help but admire her brightness.
A kind hand gently patted her head, and the voice belonging to Rain declared, "From now on, call me teacher." Rain, with a confident smile, promised to mold her into the Supreme Demon King, expressing his eagerness to work with her.
Seer, beaming with joy, enthusiastically agreed, "Yes, teacher."
But the moment of confidence quickly gave way to internal panic as Rain, now kneeling alone, realized the gravity of his promise, exclaiming, "I'm scared." He questioned his own sanity, wondering if he had been possessed as the realization hit him he had just agreed to become Seer's tutor. Despite his panic, Rain reminded himself of his unique advantage. As a hardcore fan of Evil Queenmaker, he had mastered every ending and knew every major and minor event of the game. He knew all the hidden elements perfectly, but the crucial difference became starkly clear. Simply clicking a mouse in a game was entirely different from actually raising a real demon king. He pondered the source of his impulsive decision. Was it the momentum of an aspiring teacher, or the sheer thrill of meeting Seer in person? Or perhaps, he concluded, it was his deep understanding of Seer's inherent pain that drove him to act. A sudden revelation struck him. The body he now inhabited, Nahan, was that of a great demon? A surge of determination filled Rain. He knew he could succeed, not just at a basic level, but far beyond it. He envisioned not just success, but perhaps even the most ideal ending he had ever dreamed of for Seer. Yet, a nagging question lingered. Why could he only recall Nahan's alias, but not his true name? The next day, Seer, finding herself outdoors with Rain and Cain, inquired if they were having class. Rain, with a flourish, revealed his separate study room, the great outdoors. Rain explained his unconventional choice, asserting that a spacious outdoor setting would be far better than a stuffy room, boosting concentration and even providing a bonus to stats. Seer, delighted, raised her hand in agreement. Rain, however, was slightly perplexed, asking if they would be taking class with Seer's stuffed bear. Seer, holding her beloved companion, proudly declared, "Whitey is my favorite friend, you see." Rain, attempting to gently persuade her, suggested that if he were Whitey, he would step aside for Seer's concentration. But Seer's innocent reply silenced him. "Whitey doesn't have any friends besides me." Rain exchanged a glance with Cain, sensing a deeper story behind Whitey's significance. He resolved to uncover it slowly. Acknowledging the bear's importance, Rain knelt, formally introducing himself to Whitey as Seer's royal tutor, reminding him of their previous encounter. He then earnestly requested Whitey's concentration, even if the class proved boring, for Seer's sake. Seer, beaming, relayed Whitey's understanding. "That's great," she chirped. "Let's begin then." Rain began the lesson, announcing they would delve into the basics of mana operation. Seer, however, recalled Cain's strict instruction to only approach mana after mastering other fundamental subjects. Rain dismissed Cain's concerns, attributing them to his rigid personality. Seer, grasping the implication, let out an aha, while a flustered Cain stammered, "Lady Seer." Rain then explained his rationale. To protect herself and her people as the Demon King, Seer first needed to understand her own power. Therefore, he would prioritize teaching mana operation, mana application, martial arts, and imperial studies. Seer, eager to learn, enthusiastically agreed, but then proudly declared she had already mastered imperial studies. Rain simply responded, "Is that so?" Rain, with a pointed gesture, clarified that imperial studies was only meaningful when put into practice. He highlighted Seer's contradictory use of honorifics with other demons despite her supposed mastery. Seer, surprised, pointed to a scroll, asking Rain what it was. He revealed it to be a training journal designed to help her put imperial studies into practical application. Rain then offered a powerful incentive. If Seer completed her homework diligently, she would be rewarded with pudding. Seer's eyes lit up, exclaiming, "Wow, pudding!" Rain internally resolved to use any reward Seer desired, not just pudding, to motivate her. Returning to the core lesson, Rain explained that mana could be categorized into two forms: innate mana, the total amount gathered in a person's mana heart, and usable mana, the portion they could actively wield. Rain continued, elaborating that demons, demon hybrids, devils, and dragons are born with intricate circuits within their bodies. He then challenged Seer, asking if she knew their crucial function. With bright eyes and a knowing smile, Seer eagerly responded that these circuits are precisely what allow them to wield mana. Rain confirmed her answer, clarifying that these circuits are passageways through which mana flows. He then posed another question. What happens if one possesses a multitude of these circuits? Seer quickly deduced that a greater amount of mana could flow through them. A spark of understanding lit Seer's face as she realized that usable mana is directly determined by the number of circuits one possesses. Rain, pleased with her quick grasp, praised her intelligence. Seer giggled, delighted by the praise, musing to herself that compliments could make even a whale dance. Cain, observing the interaction, internally resolved to praise Seer more often. Rain continued his lesson, explaining that innate mana is determined at birth, but the number of mana circuits can be increased through diligent effort. He demonstrated a powerful surge of red mana, emphasizing that sufficient innate mana combined with increased circuits directly boosts one's usable mana capacity.
Seer watched, utterly captivated, exclaiming how cool her teacher was.
Rain, with a confident smirk, reminded her that he was indeed her royal tutor. Cain, however, harbored a private thought. This level of teaching felt far beyond what one would expect for a fallen demon king.
Cain's monocle glinted as he reflected that despite Rain being an unknown demon, his skills undeniably justified his position as a royal tutor. With renewed determination, Seer raised a glowing hand, proclaiming with enthusiasm that she would work incredibly hard. News of a tutor appearing for Seer, the weakest demon king, began to spread throughout the demon realm.
Yet, many dismissed it, questioning the significance of an event on the relatively low 72nd floor. Among those reacting was Andromalius, the rank 70 demon king, a formidable figure with horns and fiery aura, who seemed to share the dismissive sentiment. Dantalion, the rank 69 demon king, a composed individual with glasses and horns, waved off the trivial news, instructing his subordinate to bring him only information that yielded profit. Decorabia, the rank 68 demon king, a spiky-haired demon with glowing purple eyes, held a shimmering crystal, nonchalantly asking what the fuss was about. Meanwhile, Citri, in her alluring form with long white hair and horns, reclined in a luxurious bath, idly wondering what kind of idle fellow would take on such a thankless job. Cain, standing formally in a grand chamber, reported that the name Rain was entirely new to him, and his investigations had yielded no information. Citri, from her opulent bed, found this lack of data interesting. With a captivating smile and glowing red eyes, Citri announced her intention for an outing, something she hadn't done in a while, and ordered preparations to be made. Back in her own grand hall, Seer clutched her teddy bear and a scroll, her expression one of fierce determination. She acknowledged the difficulty of the homework Rain had assigned but vowed to finish it. As Seer approached, a cat-eared woman in a maid outfit greeted her with surprise, inquiring about her presence. Seer, a bit shy, offered a soft hello. Seer's thoughts quickly returned to Rain's homework, and she wondered what was wrong with the cat-eared woman, whose back was turned. Seer, with a puzzled expression, uttered a name. Cecily? The cat-eared woman, still facing away, simply replied, "Yes, please go ahead." With a newfound resolve, Seer pointed her rolled-up scroll forward, commanding the cat-eared woman to start cleaning right now. The cat-eared woman turned, her eyes wide with surprise, questioning, "Why, Your Majesty?" Still holding a broom, the cat-eared woman pointed out that she was already cleaning. A system notification clarified that she was cleaning with magic. The cat-eared woman's eyes narrowed in thought. She paused, then recognized the scroll in Seer's hand, wondering if it was a training journal. She mused that the royal tutor was truly something, contemplating whether he intended to make Seer accustomed to acting like a monarch by forcing her to give orders. Deciding to play along, the cat-eared woman smiled, acknowledging Seer's command to pay more attention and assuring her that she would follow her orders. Seer's face lit up with joyful surprise at the maid's compliant response. With a cheerful skip, Seer announced her departure for class. The cat-eared woman watched her go, a fond smile playing on her lips, thinking that Her Majesty was cute no matter what. The scene transitioned to a new chapter title, I Became the Weakest Demon King's Teacher. Demon King, Visit. Seer hummed happily as she skipped through a lush garden, lost in thought. Whispers seemed to follow her, hinting at unspoken concerns. Suddenly, Seer stopped, noticing Rain and Cain standing nearby. She called out to them, "Teacher, Cain." Rain, gently patting Seer's head, revealed that he had just finished his kingship homework as well. He then offered her a present as a reward for her own hard work. Rain pondered what gift would be suitable, then a brilliant idea struck him. "How about getting a friend for Whitey?" he suggested, referring to Seer's cherished teddy bear. Seer's face lit up with absolute joy at the prospect of a new friend for Whitey. Meanwhile, Cain, with a subtle shift in his expression, thought to himself, "It's fine." But Seer's joy quickly faded, replaced by a look of dejection as she let out a small, disappointed ah. Rain's expression grew thoughtful. He realized the castle's financial situation was indeed a problem, just as it had been in the game. He felt a pang of concern that Seer had to be so mindful over a simple stuffed toy, concluding that he had to intervene. With a decisive look, Rain declared his intention to step in. He then turned to Seer, asking if it would be alright for him to manage the castle's finances instead of Cain, just until she was able to handle them herself. Seer's eyes widened in shock and surprise. She looked up at Rain, questioning, "You, teacher?" Cain, from behind, reacted with a startled exclamation, asking if this was why Rain, the royal tutor, had inquired about their financial situation earlier. He then exclaimed, "Rain." Rain, lost in thought, muses about Seer's happiness after receiving a stuffed toy as a gift, wondering if anyone wouldn't want to see such a sight. Cain, his gaze firm, assures Rain he understands the financial concerns, but for him, money is not the priority. Rain clarifies his intentions, stating he isn't taking over financial management due to Cain's incompetence, but rather because everyone has different strengths. He requests to be allowed to handle what he excels at. Rain declares with fierce conviction that, in the near future, Seer will ascend to stand at the pinnacle of all demon lords. Seer, looking up at Rain, states her trust in him, while Rain's golden eyes reflect a deep, unyielding resolve. Seer beams with pure joy, clutching her teddy bear, a soft affirmation escaping her lips.
Rain proposes they begin the lesson, to which Seer happily agrees. Kane, observing from a distance, wonders if it's truly wise to leave everything to Rain. Rain praises Seer's progress, guiding her to extend her magic power further. Seer, focused, responds with a determined okay. Seer's form crackles with vibrant red and pink energy, her magic power surging despite her young age. The narrator observes that even with few mana circuits, her magical output is unimaginable, a potential far exceeding that of a lowest-ranking demon lord. Seer's small face is etched with concentration, her eyes squeezed shut as the raw magical energy swirls intensely around her. Kane gently pats Seer's head as she kneels, visibly exhausted, noting her severe lack of stamina. Rain praises Seer's efforts, suggesting a brief rest before they transition to stamina training. Seer looks up at him, cheerfully agreeing. A moment later, Seer is seen energetically running, her beloved teddy bear, Whitey, clutched in her arms, continuing her daily stamina regimen. Rain reflects on the teddy bear, realizing it was a gift to Seer on her 5th birthday from the previous demon lord, Seer. He deduces it's a memento of her father, explaining why she cherishes it so deeply. Rain's eyes narrow with grim determination, his hands clasped as he vows to reveal the truth behind her past once Seer has grown strong enough to exact her own revenge. Eldon, Seer's servant, nervously announces the arrival of a letter from the floor below, specifically the 71st floor. The narrator explains the stark reality of the demon realm. A mere difference of one floor signifies an immense disparity in military power, army quality, economic scale, and overall influence. It is a colossal difference in every conceivable aspect. Rain, a confident smirk playing on his lips, reassures Kane not to be afraid, revealing that this very development is precisely what he has been anticipating. Astaroth, holding the reins of a carriage, remarks with a knowing smirk that the coachman is clearly no ordinary individual. Rain, observing the coachman, states that it is an honor, then internally questions why merely seeing a coachman would be considered an honor, repeating a coachman, with a hint of suspicion. Kane, Eldon, and the cat-eared woman stare in utter shock, one of them exclaiming Rain, in disbelief. Astaroth chuckles, a knowing smile on his face, asking how Rain knew, finding the situation quite interesting. A striking figure emerges, a blindfolded woman adorned with rich jewelry and a confident posture, her presence exuding undeniable power. Rain bows with a respectful flourish, formally greeting the powerful woman, Your Majesty, Citri, expressing his pleasure at their first meeting. Citri, now fully revealed in her demonic form with horns and glowing red eyes, acknowledges Rain's sharp perception, remarking that to see through Baphomet's disguise, he must be no ordinary individual. Citri's lips curl into a confident smirk, her crimson eyes gleaming with a hint of amusement. Kane, along with Eldon, is flabbergasted, wondering how Rain, as the royal tutor, could be so ignorant of the vast power difference between floors in the demon realm. He then internally fumes at Rain's arrogant tone. Citri, with an amused expression, asks Rain his purpose for being there, suggesting they discuss it inside. Rain, however, sternly refuses, stating she may not enter unless she presents a valid reason. Citri's eyes widen slightly in response to his defiance. Rain, still unyielding, asserts that even a higher rank doesn't permit careless trespassing into another demon lord's territory. He demands a valid reason for Citri's presence. Citri's composure cracks, her internal thoughts raging at Rain's audacity. Am I truly being looked down on by someone like this now? If it were the old days, a guy like this. With a visible sigh, Citri forces herself to hold back her fury, reminding herself of her objective. She then declares her purpose. As the ruler of the 71st floor, she has urgent matters to discuss with the ruler of the 72nd floor. Rain's gaze remains calm as he internally acknowledges Citri's cleverness. She's using the precarious position of Seer to remind him that even an unstable ruler is still a demon lord, demanding respect for the title. A faint smile plays on Rain's lips as he offers a seemingly polite apology for his earlier rudeness, explaining it as a duty to Seer's protection. He then instructs Kane to escort Citri to the drawing room. Kane immediately steps forward, confirming he will lead Citri. Citri turns her head slightly, ordering her companion, Baphomet, to wait outside, assuring him it won't take long. As Citri proceeds, her heels click on the polished floor. She remarks on the noticeable absence of servants, pointing out that Rain's domain appears to have lost many. Citri continues her veiled taunts, suggesting the lack of servants is a consequence of a less than ideal financial situation. Rain, however, seethes internally. Whose fault do you think that is, you bullshit artist? Rain, still composed, gestures to a luxurious sofa, inviting Citri to make herself comfortable. Citri settles onto the sofa, adopting a seductive pose as she states her urgent financial matters. Rain's sharp eyes narrow, his internal thoughts dismissive. Oh, really? Look at this. Is she trying to seduce me? Rain, with a confident smirk, informs Citri that he is currently managing Devata Castle's finances, implying she'll have to deal with him directly. Citri, misinterpreting his intent, smirks internally. He can't take his eyes off me. This is why males are so easy. Citri lays out her demand. A significant number of her soldiers, who were assisting the 72nd floor, died during a human adventurer invasion. Therefore, Rain's domain must cover their compensation and the cost for additional personnel. Rain, without turning, questions Citri on whose authority those soldiers were deployed. Citri, feigning benevolence, claims it was her own consideration, asserting that the 72nd floor's army alone couldn't possibly have stopped the human invasion. Rain's expression hardens, a dark, ominous aura beginning to swirl around him as Citri's blatant lies continue. Citri's composure falters, her eyes widening in surprise as she senses a dangerous shift in Rain's aura. She internally questions if she misheard something, despite no words being spoken. Rain takes a sip from his teacup, a sinister smirk playing on his lips. Citri, however, realizes she didn't mishear anything. His attitude is a direct challenge. She fumes internally. How dare he show such disrespect to a higher-ranking demon lord? With a sharp whack, Rain slams his teacup down, shattering the saucer and sending fragments flying. Citri's internal monologue continues, convinced that Rain has truly lost his mind to act this way. Citri erupts from the sofa, her eyes blazing crimson as raw demonic energy radiates outwards, cracking the very floor beneath her. She shouts, "You really have lost your mind." The surge of Citri's power causes the ornate doors of the drawing room to rumble and glow ominously with her crimson energy. Rain, still seated and incredibly calm, asks Citri why she's so angry, mockingly suggesting it's because he called her a petty thug. Citri explodes, demanding how he can continue to run his mouth when he knows the situation perfectly well. As Citri rages, Rain calmly extends a hand, unleashing a surge of blue energy that pushes her back. He coolly defines her actions, forcing surplus troops onto a weaker demon lord and then extorting money is the very definition of a petty thug. Citri's face contorts with pure fury, her eyes glowing like embers as she clenches her fist, red energy crackling around her. She screams, "Your arrogance pierces the heavens." Consumed by crimson rage, Citri transforms into a blur of raw power, lunging forward with a furious roar, her attack aimed directly at Rain. Her red eyes burning with vengeful fire, Citri declares, "You brought this punishment upon yourself." Undeterred, Rain remains perfectly still, a serene expression on his face as a blinding golden light erupts around him, deflecting Citri's assault. Rain's expression darkens, his eyes shadowed and cold. He states, "Goodness, I was going to let this slide quietly out of respect for your majesty's pride, but..." With a sharp snap, Rain's fingers crackle with brilliant light, activating a potent ability. A searing wave of red and gold energy explodes forward, tearing through the air with destructive force. The energy coalesces into a swirling vortex of destructive power, its intensity causing the air to crackle. Citri's eyes are wide with disbelief and pain as she clutches her chest, her own flames seemingly nullified or absorbed. She gasps internally, "Am my flames? Your Majesty, Citri." Brought to her knees, Citri looks up at the menacing silhouette of Rain, her previous arrogance completely shattered. She hastily suggests resolving the conflict through conversation, like intelligent demons. Rain's golden eye glows with cold calculation as he reveals his true agenda. "I actually have a good proposal for you." Below, a swirling vortex of crimson energy hints at the true power he wields. Citri gasps, her eyes wide with shock and recognition as Rain's shadowy form looms over her. She utters a single, stunned phrase, "White whale?" Citri, though still shaken, tries to regain her composure, defiantly questioning Rain's audacity to make a proposal to her. But Rain's voice cuts through her bravado, "You won't be able to refuse." Rain's sinister smile widens as he reveals his ultimate leverage. His proposal concerns the very seal placed upon Citri herself. Citri's eyes widen further in dawning horror, a silent gasp escaping her lips. The tension hangs heavy in the air as the chapter concludes, leaving Citri's fate and the true nature of Rain's proposal shrouded in suspense. The conversation shifts toward a dangerous truth as Rain mentions the seal placed upon Citri, causing her expression to harden instantly. Rain reveals he knows Citri's secret. She once ranked 12th but plummeted after her power was sealed away. Enraged, Citri tells him to shut his mouth if he's only going to state the obvious. Rain presses further, asking if she intends to conquer the upper floors. He notes that the sealing stones binding her power are scattered across floors ruled by mid-tier demon kings and above. With a flick of his wrist, Rain summons a glowing contract scroll, its magical light illuminating the room as he proposes a deal. Rain makes his move, promising to help Citri break the seal on her power if she agrees to his terms. Citri eyes the floating scroll with deep suspicion, demanding to know exactly how a mere human plans on helping a demon king. A cold, knowing smirk plays on Rain's lips. He tells her that she should have already seen the proof of his capability. A dark, overwhelming aura flares behind Rain, a manifestation of power that leaves Citri breathless and trembling in the face of such raw authority. Shaken to her core, Citri asks for his true identity. Rain stands tall, declaring himself the Demon King's master. The pressure in the room reaches a boiling point as Rain asks one final question: will she sign the contract? The deal is struck. Citri finalizes the magical document, presenting the terms to Rain for his review. The contract is a masterstroke of diplomacy. Clause 1 forces Citri to withdraw her forces from Seer's domain, while Clause 2 secures military funding for their cause. It is a highly advantageous agreement. Rain notes that Citri's willingness to agree stems from Clause 3, which promises his full, unrestricted support to her in any field. Citri's thoughts are racing. That power Rain displayed earlier, it was overwhelming even compared to her past self at full strength. She stares at Rain, wondering if the power he showed was just a fraction. What if it was only 1/100th of his true strength? A sly smile crosses Citri's face. To her, this isn't just a deal, it's a gamble worth taking. Citri demands that Rain stamp his blood seal to finalize the pact. Without hesitation, Rain agrees. Using a small blade, Rain draws blood from his finger, preparing to bind his very soul to the terms of the alliance. The crimson fingerprints of both parties are pressed onto the scroll, activating the ancient magic of the contract. The scroll erupts in a flash of light as the magical bond is forged. Rain looks forward to their new partnership. Citri acknowledges the bond, her eyes glowing with a mixture of anticipation and unease as she addresses her new ally. Rain introduces the new ally to Seer, explaining that Citri will be helping them from now on. Seer looks up with innocent wonder. Seer bows politely, thanking Citri for her help. Citri, caught off guard by the child's sincerity, awkwardly suggests they get alone. Rain's tone turns sharp as he scolds Citri, telling her she needs to relearn her manners for calling an allied demon king a kid. Citri flinches under Rain's stern gaze, her pride taking a back seat as she struggles to find the right words to address the small girl. Blushing with embarrassment, Citri finally manages to address Seer with the proper respect, calling her Lord Seer. Satisfied, Rain announces that he will now explain the method to fulfill their contract, catching Citri's attention once more. Rain drops a bombshell. To fulfill the deal, Citri will also have to become his disciple. The room goes silent. Citri's eye twitches in sheer disbelief as the weight of Rain's demand sinks in. Citri explodes, screaming that his proposal is absolute bullshit. Rain calmly reminds her that he is well aware of her former prominence. He ruthlessly dissects her current state, calling her someone with mediocre power who is dead last in the rankings, an insignificant, run-of-the-mill demon king. Citri is fuming, shouting that he didn't have to go that far. Rain just gives her a mocking look that makes her blood boil. Rain explains that she likely thinks her growth has reached its limit and that reclaiming her sealed power is the only way forward. He counters her belief, stating she is capable of becoming much stronger. Citri is stunned, wondering if he's lying to her. Citri clenches her fist, her mind racing. If Rain truly possesses the power he claims, his words might carry weight. Rain recalls that even in the game, Citri reclaimed her power and grew alongside Seer as a reliable supporter. If he helps her now, she will undoubtedly surpass her former strength. Citri warns him not to play tricks. Rain dismisses her concern, stating they have fulfilled the first terms and should head back for today. Rain tells Citri she can find him whenever she has time. Citri points an accusing finger, outraged that he expects a demon king to come to him. Seer suddenly clings to Rain's leg, her eyes glowing with possessive intensity as she declares that Rain is her master. Dynamic has shifted forever. With a powerful new ally and a jealous disciple, Rain's path to dominating this world has just become much more interesting. The tension is palpable as Citri, the jealous disciple, reluctantly sets the terms for Seer's visits, stating that the situation is unavoidable. She then asks if a weekly visit would suffice. Her anger flares as Citri challenges the unspoken implication, demanding to know if they truly believe she is desperate for their presence. Rain simply smirks, a glint in his golden eyes, suggesting that time will reveal the true extent of her desire. Meanwhile, Citri's soldiers, Zeta and Epsilon, grumble about their new deployment, questioning why they're stuck in such a tedious position. Vice Commander Verena, overseeing the 4th Corps, sternly warns them to continue their complaints at their own peril. Zeta immediately bows an apology to Vice Commander Verena, promising to discipline his subordinates. Verena dismisses him, instructing them to focus on proper training rather than idle chatter, to which Zeta quickly agrees. Verena watches them go, pondering the chaotic atmosphere and the disorganized training of the troops. Commander Lin El Leza, observing the situation, responds with a rhetorical question, acknowledging the difficult circumstances. Citri's rage erupts, her fangs bared, as she furiously accuses someone of trying to provoke her and demands to know why they are suddenly refusing to teach her. Rain, holding a calm Seer, clarifies that it's not a matter of capability but of time, as he's currently occupied with integrating Citri's own forces. He subtly suggests she could assist. Citri seethes, realizing Rain is implicitly challenging her to improve on her own. She internally vows to surpass him one day. Rain gently asks Seer if she could take charge of the finishing touches, a subtle request for her assistance. As Rain and Seer arrive, Commander Lin El Leza greets them, noting Seer's charm and inquiring about the purpose of their visit. Rain explains his visit is to inspect Seer's new swordsmanship training grounds and to resolve other matters. Lin El Leza acknowledges him, respectfully referring to him as Sir Nahan, before Rain requests she simply call him by his name. Rain's eyes narrow as he addresses Vice Commander Verena, his expression suggesting the answer to a previous question is self-evident. Verena subtly adjusts his uniform, a faint smirk playing on his lips as he observes Rain. Verena, with a sly smile, states he means no disrespect to Rain, but points out the inherent difficulty of unifying soldiers from disparate factions.
Rain challenges Verena to witness his method for resolving the issue, to which Verena agrees, promising to observe closely and learn. A moment later, Zeta and Epsilon stare in utter confusion at two swords crossed before them, clearly bewildered by the sudden turn of events. The narrator reveals Vice Commander Verena to be highly skilled and fiercely loyal, though his allegiance is strictly reserved for Seer alone. Rain, with a calculating gaze, internally resolves to use this encounter to completely win over Verena's loyalty. Epsilon, surprised by their presence, begins to greet Seer, but Rain interrupts, extending his hand and introducing himself as Seer's master. Rain maintains his smirk, claiming full responsibility for his actions yet asserting they were the right decision, reminding Epsilon of his past generosity in taking them in when they had nowhere else to turn. Epsilon's golden eye widens, a sudden realization dawning upon him as Rain's words sink in. Epsilon's composure shatters, his face contorting into a monstrous snarl as he fiercely challenges Rain, demanding to know if he believes he can speak with such impunity. Rain, completely unfazed by Epsilon's outburst, calmly remarks on the roughness of his handshake. With a sudden, crushing grip, Rain retaliates, causing Epsilon to cry out in agony as his hand is overpowered. Rain calmly commands Epsilon to remember his place, his words carrying an undeniable weight of authority as Epsilon clutches his throbbing arm. Rain's eyes glow with a cold intensity as he declares that Epsilon's true liege stands before him, challenging Epsilon's audacity to disrespect him, the master of his liege. Epsilon, despite his pain, defiantly questions if Rain's actions are what Citri taught him, then accuses Rain of insulting Her Majesty Citri. Rain's voice rings with finality as he commands Epsilon to look closely, asserting that his true liege is not Citri, but Lord Seer, standing right before him, now glowing with a subtle aura of authority. Epsilon's reptilian eye widens, a blush creeping onto his scales as he finds himself momentarily captivated by Seer's unexpected cuteness. He quickly snaps back to reality, realizing the impropriety of his thoughts. Epsilon, regaining his composure, firmly declares his unwavering loyalty, stating that Citri is his one and only liege. Rain's hand glows with dark mana, the energy spiraling outwards as he accepts Epsilon's defiance. The shadowy tendrils spread, captivating the armored figures, who react with dawning realization. Eldon, caught within the surge of red mana and dark tendrils, stares in disbelief, recognizing the raw power as pure mana. Rain stands amidst the swirling red mana, his presence overwhelming as he declares his intent to dispose of any disloyal subordinates. With a commanding gesture, Rain offers Epsilon one final opportunity to reconsider his allegiance. Rain's gaze is piercing as he challenges Epsilon, asking if he will cling to his current reality and face annihilation, or embrace a new future under his command. Epsilon's reptilian features contort in anguish, caught between Rain's power and his ingrained loyalty. He internally grapples with his demonic oath to Citri, feeling bound by her commands. Rain's thoughts echo, acknowledging Epsilon's fierce loyalty as a valuable asset, one he intends to harness. With a confident snap of his fingers, Rain challenges Citri, asserting that she will be held accountable for her words and actions regarding Epsilon's loyalty. Citri watches in utter confusion as her former subordinates now kneel around Rain and Seer, their allegiance seemingly shifted. Citri, exasperated, berates her subordinates for their foolishness, demanding to know why they are causing trouble when she and Lord Seer are supposed to be allies. A subordinate attempts to justify their actions, claiming the alliance was merely in name, but Citri furiously silences them, asserting it is a proper, binding alliance. Citri, with a triumphant air, declares Epsilon and his forces to be the very symbol of the powerful alliance between the 71st and 72nd floors. Epsilon, however, questions this sudden shift in his role. Citri's expression turns serious as she declares her desire for the alliance to continue, stressing its absolute indispensability in the face of an impending war. Epsilon and his fellow subordinates bow in submission, acknowledging their disrespectful actions. However, Epsilon, now seemingly swayed by Rain, defiantly declares his allegiance is no longer to Citri. Citri extends her hand, her voice firm as she prepares to issue a final, decisive command. Epsilon, bewildered by the unfolding events and Citri's contradictory stance, questions her true identity and motives. A powerful declaration begins, punctuated by the sound of a fist clenching with resolute force. A formidable army of armored warriors stands united, their collective voice ringing out with a powerful declaration: "We are the army of Her Majesty Seer." Both Seer and Rain are visibly stunned, their eyes wide with surprise at the unexpected revelation of Seer's hidden army. Citri, with a satisfied smirk and a thumbs up, acknowledges Seer's surprising utility. Seer, clutching her teddy bear, gives a small, bashful thumbs up, mirroring Rain's gesture of approval. Standing tall, Rain and Seer share a confident thumbs up, a silent testament to their burgeoning alliance and combined strength. Rain gently takes Seer's hand and pats her head, addressing her with a soft tone to get her attention. Rain pauses, a question mark forming in his mind as Seer's small hand holds his with unexpected firmness. Rain gently asks Seer to release his hand, explaining he needs to teach, but Seer defiantly refuses, clinging tightly, much to Rain's surprise. Seer's small face is set in a determined pout as she firmly declares her refusal to let go of Rain's hand. Rain, finding a humorous compromise, lifts Seer onto his hip, suggesting this alternative to holding hands. Citri watches, a hint of surprise and annoyance on her face. Citri's face contorts in a furious expression as she angrily demands Rain fulfill his promise to teach her, rather than doting on Seer. Rain calmly reassures Citri that teaching is still possible, even with Seer in his arms. Citri, however, is baffled by his words, demanding an explanation. Dark mana swirls around Rain's feet as he announces the commencement of today's lesson. Rain, with Seer still in his arms, stands at the center of a rapidly intensifying vortex of red and black mana, an awe-inspiring display of power that leaves Citri stunned. Rain's voice rings out, the essence of his lesson delivered with stark simplicity, just one hit. Citri's expression twists into disbelief and anger, her fist clenching as she scoffs at the seemingly simplistic training, questioning its efficacy. Rain's face holds a subtle, confident smirk as he assures Citri, with absolute certainty, that the training will indeed be helpful. Citri collapses under the immense pressure of Rain's mana, groaning in struggle. Yet, even on her knees, she defiantly asserts her superior strength compared to her past self. Rain then challenges her to break free and land a single blow. Citri writhes under the oppressive mana, her body pushed to its limits as she questions the sheer power overwhelming her. This immense force makes no sense to her. A strengthened alliance with Seer is yet another power Rain wields, amplifying his already formidable presence. Seer's individual magical strength also holds significant importance, contributing to the overall power of their bond. Through such powerful alliances, they can effortlessly exert their combined forces and influence across realms. Eldon watches, a worried thought crossing his mind. If Citri remains grounded under this kind of mana, will she ever reclaim her full power? Rain coldly suggests it seems impossible for her to break free, asking why she doesn't simply give up. Citri, enraged, snaps back that he has said enough. Citri's true power remains sealed within at least the middle realm, a stratum of immense power and pressure. To survive within that realm, one must adapt to the overwhelming pressure exerted by dense mana, a challenge Citri is now facing. Rain muses that the increase in the number of mana circuits during this rigorous process will also be a significant bonus for Citri. Rain explains that this intense pressure is precisely what the training is for, then instructs Seer to watch closely as well. Seer tilts her head, her curious eyes wide as she asks why she should pay such close attention. Rain calmly reveals that this is a type of training she will inevitably have to undertake one day. Citri lets out a guttural scream, writhing under the relentless mana pressure that continues to crush her. Rain advises Citri not to push herself too hard, considering her age, prompting Citri to furiously snap back, "Shut up!" Citri, fueled by defiance, vows to land a single blow on him today, despite the overwhelming pressure. Rain watches her struggle from a distance, calmly stating his hope that she will truly see the fruits of her intense labor. Rain observes Citri's resilience, acknowledging that she wasn't ranked 12th among the Demon Kings for nothing. Rain realizes Citri has already adapted to the pressure, considering he might get hit sooner than anticipated. Seer, with bright, hopeful eyes, asks her teacher, Rain, to give her a lesson as well. Rain reminds Seer they already had a lesson in the morning, but Seer insists she wants to learn more, her eagerness palpable. Rain internally debates whether pushing too hard could ruin their condition, but then concedes, wondering how a master could possibly resist such earnest, sparkling eyes. Citri, still struggling under the mana, looks up in confusion, questioning the sudden change in the atmosphere. Rain calls for a momentary break and Citri, now able to stand, lets out a relieved sigh, finally able to breathe freely. Rain turns to Seer, asking her to recount what she learned during their lesson today. Seer eagerly explains that external mana is a method of using mana scattered in the air, allowing one to cast magic requiring more mana than they currently possess. Rain then challenges her, asking how one can capture the mana floating freely in the air at will, prompting Seer to ponder the answer. Suddenly, Seer shouts her answer with a triumphant fist pump. "You ask the mana to help." Rain smiles, acknowledging that it's a very good idea, pleased with Seer's insightful response. Seer then questions how to ask mana for help, admitting she's never spoken to it before. Rain reassures her, explaining that one's mana can indeed strike up a conversation. Rain demonstrates, scattering his own mana into the surroundings, initiating the process. He explains that by befriending the floating mana, he can draw it towards him, creating a powerful connection. In doing so, he can borrow his friend's power, enabling him to use even stronger magic, a spectacular display of his ability. Rain asks Seer if she wants to try it herself, to which she enthusiastically exclaims, yes, her eyes sparkling with excitement. With a determined expression, Seer extends her hand, attempting to gather the mana herself, a faint glow beginning to form. Rain gently instructs Seer to slowly spread her mana wide, just as he demonstrated moments before. Citri watches, a shocked thought crossing her mind. Could this immense mana truly belong to a mere 7-year-old child? Citri's eyes narrow in resolve. This powerful alliance, she realizes, must be protected at all costs.
Rain commends her, then instructs Seer to now try gathering her mana, to which she confidently affirms, ready for the next step. With renewed determination, Seer extends her hand, concentrating intently as raw mana begins to coalesce, swirling into luminous arcane symbols before her. A small, vibrant ball of mana forms in Seer's grasp, eliciting an excited wow from her as Rain looks on, a proud smile gracing his lips, commending her with a simple well done. Rain explains that while floating mana is useful, Seer will also need to master drawing out and gathering mana normally, emphasizing the importance of diverse practice. A furious Demoness with white hair and red horns confronts Rain, exclaiming that delivering a blow during training is completely unacceptable, while Rain remains unfazed. Seer, holding a small wisp of fire, eagerly requests Rain to teach her the ancient magic, only for him to flatly refuse her plea. The Demoness erupts in frustration, questioning Rain's refusal, reminding him that he called her a disciple, but Rain calmly states that sufficient trust with Demon King Citri has not yet been established. A sly grin plays on Rain's lips as he internally schemes, realizing he can extract more from her, then outwardly offers to teach her if their relationship becomes a bit closer. The Demoness blushes, her eyes wide with surprise and confusion, as she stammers a question about needing to get closer to Rain. Her hand clenches, the chains on her wrist rattling, as she internally rationalizes that such a small concession is nothing if it means becoming stronger. Still flustered, the Demoness awkwardly asks Rain what kind of style he likes, completely misunderstanding his previous statement, much to Rain and Seer's confusion. The Demoness defensively explains that getting closer involves understanding one's tastes, but Rain clarifies that he was referring to the political trust between the 72nd and 71st floors, leaving her stunned. Embarrassed, the Demoness exclaims that Rain should have been clearer, trying to backtrack her previous statements, while Rain calmly tells her it's fine as long as she understands now, and to bring a tempting proposal next time. Seer looks up, her eyes wide and innocent, utterly confused by the entire exchange, simply asking Ling? A majestic, ornate stained glass window, adorned with intricate geometric patterns, glows softly, hinting at a grand and ancient setting. The narration reveals that great demons rarely showed their true forms in the game, described only as mysterious, powerful beings from ancient times, as a formidable, winged demon sits upon a throne. Rain, now in a more formal setting, reads a document, his golden eyes sharp with focus as he identifies territorial expansion as the most urgent problem. Rain ponders a tactical alliance with Citri, acknowledging that a frontal assault would be too costly, then his gaze falls upon something intriguing on his desk, sparking a realization. Seer's voice cuts through Rain's thoughts with a cheerful teacher, startling him as he responds, Seer? Rain reassures the cat-eared woman, Commander Lin El Leza, thanking her for responding despite her busy schedule, to which she replies that she came because he needed her opinion. The cat-eared woman expresses her skepticism about conquering the 70th floor, stating that even with Demon King Citri's forces they would be at a military disadvantage. She advises prudence if Rain intends to initiate an all-out war, her hand holding a simple note card, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. Examining the note card, the cat-eared woman's expression shifts to surprise as she deduces that the plan might be viable if it avoids a frontal confrontation. Rain, a confident, knowing smirk playing on his lips, declares that the card or strategy presented is a very solid one. A promotional message encourages viewers to read chapters 1 to 20 exclusively on the designated website, supporting the creators. A warning message appears, urging readers to support the series by reading on the official website to ensure the continuation of high-quality translations. Rain, with a confident and slightly menacing glint in his golden eyes, asks for the commander's thoughts, then asserts that the proposed strategy is a pretty solid move. The cat-eared woman, now resolute, outlines the next steps, including the need for a duke, selecting infiltration specialists, and consulting Sir Epsilon. Rain, with an air of absolute certainty, declares that everything will be fine, assuring that they will listen now, implying his influence has grown. Rain turns to Seer, asking for her opinion, and she responds with an unbridled enthusiasm, exclaiming, I like everything. The title card of the manhwa is displayed, marking the conclusion of this intense strategic session. Picking up where the strategic session left off, Citri, looking determined yet slightly anxious, offers to help expand their influence into the 70th floor. I'll help too, she declares. Now on all fours and surrounded by shadowy tendrils, Citri asks why Rain is looking at her with such distrust. Rain coolly replies, I'm not. The scene shifts to Rain and Kane at an outdoor table. Rain spots Seer scurrying across the tabletop. Seer, where are you going? Seer crawls alongside Eldon, clutching her teddy bear. Let's do it together, she cheers enthusiastically. Watching the odd sight with a subtle smile, Rain muses, they say things are less tiring when done together. Citri looks on, a bead of sweat on her temple, clearly bewildered by the unfolding scene. Eldon struggles as he crawls beside a laughing Seer. Dealing with someone this innocent is exhausting too, he laments to himself. Rain interjects, telling Seer that her bear, Whitey, will get dirty if she keeps that up. Seer gasps in concern, Whitey. Rain kneels and reassures Seer they can wash Whitey later. When he asks if she wants to wash it together, Seer happily agrees, yes. Rain instructs Kane to look after His Majesty.
Yes, Lord Rain, Kane responds respectfully.
Epsilon observes Citri. You seem used to dealing with children? He asks. Citri replies, it's not so much that I'm used to it.
Rain contemplates Seer's remarkable ability to comfortably accept and adapt to new situations.
Rain teases Citri, suggesting she acts without thinking. When have I ever done that?
She retorts indignantly.
Rain's finger glows with energy as he ends the training session. Let's resume our strategic discussion.
Citri reiterates her offer to help with the 70th floor.
When Rain asks why, she wryly notes, you wouldn't believe me even if I said it's because we're allies, right?
Citri reveals that her faction was also preparing for war, though it has arrived sooner than anticipated. Rain wonders if the accelerated timeline is a direct consequence of his own advancements. Rain asks for the specifics of her assistance.
Citri mutters, you're shameless, before asking, what do you want me to do? Rain suggests a preemptive strike. Citri counters, we'd take too many losses that way.
Rain pats her shoulder, praising her quick thinking.
Citri wonders to herself, that was a compliment, so why doesn't it feel like one? Citri asks if he has a strategy. In response, Rain presents a floating document. Please take a look at this. Citri reads the document. Two of them are falling out? The narrator notes that Aaron Raiders is a major power on the 70th floor. Citri remarks on the leader's stupidity and stubbornness.
Rain confirms his plan. I intend to bring the Aaron Raiders over to our side.
Citri asks, you're telling me this because you're confident in the plan, right? Rain proposes an equal split of all resources, from territory to funding. Citri is surprised. That's unexpected. I thought you'd try to take more.
Rain simply states, we're allies, after all, as if it were a matter of fact. Citri points out his hypocrisy, noting he never believes her when she says the same thing. Rain calmly replies that her belief is up to her. A bold crimson symbol flashes, marking a decisive shift in the narrative. Rain announces the resumption of training, while Citri's frustrated scream echoes, this is too much.
Sunlight fills the ornate hall, hinting at a moment of tranquility after the strategic intensity.
Rain tells Seer that Whitey is now clean.
Seer beams with delight. Yes. Rain notices red streaks in Seer's hair. Did you dye your hair? He asks, sounding confused.
The narrator explains that the Devata clan stores external mana within their hair, a trait that sets them apart from other demon races. This inherent ability is why the Devata clan exhibits such exceptional talent in magic.
Rain ponders whether utilizing mana would restore the Devata clan's unique abilities to their normal state.
Kane confirms, explaining that the previous ruler, His Majesty Seer, amassed an immense amount of external mana, so much that over half his hair turned red. Seer's eyes light up with understanding, realizing that if external mana can be stored, then even she, the current Seer, should be capable of wielding high-consumption magic. Rain gently pats Seer's head, instructing her that from now on, she will need to frequently practice gathering external mana.
Seer enthusiastically agrees. Rain then turns his attention to Kane, inquiring about the whereabouts of the commander. The scene shifts to a moonlit town, somewhere on the 70th floor, a domain ruled by Andromalius.
With a sharp, focused gaze, the cat-eared woman issues a concise command, let's go. Cat-eared woman stands amidst the quiet town square, several figures lying unconscious around her, the full moon illuminating the scene. The cat-eared woman reflects internally, noting that he proved more skilled than anticipated and caused no trouble.
She wonders if Lord Nahan had already assessed their military strength.
Two shadowy figures shoot into the night sky, leaving streaks of light as they rapidly ascend towards the full moon. With practiced stealth, a pair of feet land softly on a tree branch, barely disturbing the quiet night. The cat-eared woman stands silently on a high branch, her gaze fixed on the luminous full moon, deep in thought. Three masked figures, one with cat ears, another with wings, and a third with an animal-like head, silently observe a secluded cabin from their perches in the trees. Winged masked figure surveys the cabin, reporting that nothing immediately suspicious stands out about the structure. The cat-eared woman questions the true purpose of their presence, to which another masked figure explains that His Majesty intends to conquer the 70th floor, and to achieve this, they must win over the Aaron Raiders. The cat-eared woman expresses her skepticism, asking if such a feat is even possible. The masked figure responds stoically, reminding her that as soldiers, they simply follow orders. A command rings out to move, followed by a brilliant flash of light as they activate their abilities for rapid transit. The cabin is enveloped in a swirling vortex of energy, suggesting a swift departure or arrival. A masked figure with purple hair suddenly reacts, his expression one of sharp alarm. Large, imposing demon-like figure with horns and wings demands they identify themselves. The cat-eared woman, observing the pair, notes internally that Aaron's subordinates are far better trained than anticipated. A new figure, a robust man with a beard and horns, steps forward, identifying himself as a leader of the Aaron Raiders, acknowledging them as envoys of His Majesty Sir von Devata. The Aaron leader fixes his stern gaze upon the group, demanding to know which of them serves as the representative. The cat-eared woman reaches up, slowly pulling down her mask, preparing to speak.
With a resolute expression, the cat-eared woman declares herself as the representative. The errand leader reacts with stunned disbelief, recognizing her as Lin El Leza, one of Seer's legendary four swords. His subordinates echo his shock, questioning if the four swords weren't all supposedly dead. The cat-eared woman stands tall, declaring that she abandoned that old title long ago. Her allegiance is now solely to His Majesty Seer, serving as his personal sword. The errand leader looks towards the cabin, a red glow now emanating from within, asking in disbelief if His Majesty Seer truly intends to swallow the entire 70th floor. Seated across from the errand leader, the cat-eared woman confidently asserts that such a feat is more than possible. The errand leader questions her unwavering confidence. The cat-eared woman opens a box, calmly explaining that with just His Majesty Citri and herself, defeating a formidable opponent like Andromalius is entirely possible. The errand leader, impressed by her conviction, admits he can't help but believe her. The errand leader, however, emphasizes that war is a different matter entirely, stating that even the combined armies of the 71st and 72nd floors would be no match for the 70th. Cat-eared woman retorts, asking if that isn't precisely why they came, explaining that they require the assistance of a demon like him, one who intimately knows this territory. The cat-eared woman maintains a composed demeanor, stating that they cannot reveal all their cards just yet, but she has one crucial piece of information to impart. The cat-eared woman reveals a hidden truth, asserting that even if there were 100 individuals as strong as her, there is someone by His Majesty Seer's side whom they couldn't even harm. The errand leader's face contorts in profound shock, struggling to comprehend how a member of the legendary Four Swords, individuals said to rival demon kings in their prime, could make such an astonishing claim. The errand leader attempts to laugh off her statement, suggesting Commander El Leza enjoys a good joke. However, the cat-eared woman's expression remains unyielding as she challenges him, asking if she looks like someone who would joke in such a serious situation. The cat-eared woman then issues a direct challenge, inviting him to report today's events to Andromalius if he still refuses to believe them. With a piercing gaze, the cat-eared woman warns him to remember one crucial thing: he, the Count, will not escape the consequences either. The cat-eared woman stands resolute, her imposing presence filling the space as the conversation reaches its tense conclusion. The horned man across the table, his presence commanding, states his terms, demanding to first hear exactly what the cat-eared woman wants from him. The cat-eared woman, resolute, lays out her demands: permission for the 71st floor's army to pass through his territory and assistance in restraining Andromalius on the day of their operation. She then challenges him, asking if he would prefer to abandon a failing alliance and instead grasp a sturdy new opportunity with her. With the terms set, the cat-eared woman asks for the deployment schedule. A voice replies that it will be soon, advising her to rest as she must be tired. She simply acknowledges, understood. Rain, seated at his desk, notices the cat-eared woman's hesitation and asks if she has something on her mind. She remains silent, contemplating. The cat-eared woman finally breaks her silence, apologizing for her presumption before asking Rain why he volunteered to be a mere tutor to Seer. Rain scoffs at her use of mere, stating that a royal tutor to a sovereign is hardly a trifling position. However, the cat-eared woman counters that compared to the abilities he has shown, it is an insignificant role for Rain. The cat-eared woman presses further, questioning why someone of Rain's caliber would choose the absolute lowest, the 72nd floor, as his domain, asserting that it makes no logical sense. The cat-eared woman states that it seems he's worried about her ulterior motives, such as usurpation, acknowledging that the possibility isn't zero. Rain's mind races, realizing the cat-eared woman actually suspects his true intentions. He wonders what to do, knowing the truth would brand him a lunatic and that a flimsy excuse wouldn't deter her. A wicked smile spreads across Rain's face as he declares his simple motivation: he thought it would be fun. The cat-eared woman gasps, utterly shocked, as Rain continues, revealing his desire to raise a demon king with his own hands, specifically the weakest and most despised one. Rain's eyes gleam with a dark joy as he describes imagining the day his chosen demon king eventually rules over the entire demon realm, stating that nothing brings him more satisfaction. The cat-eared woman, disturbed, asks if his actions are purely for his own amusement. Rain admits it was the initial reason, but feigns hurt at her blunt phrasing. Rain then softens, claiming he actually likes it here, especially with Seer, whom he calls the absolute cutest demon king of them all. The cat-eared woman reacts with a confused huh? Rain continues to list the benefits, proudly mentioning the steadfast and loyal Cain, who serves as their tactician. He then praises Leah, a woman with a warm heart whom he trusts implicitly with the castle's internal affairs. Rain continues, listing Cecilia, excellent at her work and highly perceptive, and Mark, who boasts the best culinary skills in the demon realm. He then mentions Vice Commander Baruna, acknowledging his rebellious streak but affirming his skills and loyalty are beyond doubt. Rain then adds, plus, we have the strong, loyal, and capable, not to mention beautiful, Commander Lin. The cat-eared woman flushes, exclaiming wah, in shock. Rain, with a slight smirk, asks why she's so surprised, claiming he only stated the facts. The cat-eared woman stammers, unable to form a coherent response.
Returning to a serious demeanor, Rain asserts that he genuinely likes the 72nd floor and its people, finding it appealing in many ways.
He internally muses, what could be better than seeing characters from a game in person?
Rain reassures her, telling her to rest easy. He promises that unless they cast him out, he will never turn his back on them. The cat-eared woman thanks Rain for sincerely answering her disloyal remarks. Rain corrects her, stating that her loyalty isn't owed to him but to Seer. Rain smiles, concluding that she is more loyal than anyone else, as her questions only stem from concern for Seer. The cat-eared woman expresses her gratitude that he sees it that way. Rain then kindly urges her to hurry and get some rest. As she departs, the cat-eared woman reflects that their majesty is truly blessed with good people.
Seer bounces in, declaring she came to play and asking what Rain was doing.
He replies that he was looking over the finances.
Seer then asks if she can watch, to which Rain readily agrees. Seer's thought bubble appears, contemplating whether she should give Rain a little economics lesson since he's there.
Seer explains they just need to give the people food, as they have grain and meat stored from last year.
Rain questions if they should give it for free.
Seer emphatically replies no, stating that while some can be relief, the rest should be sold at a very cheap price.
Seer then poses a critical question. What if the farmers don't have the money to buy food right now?
She ponders, Rain explains that in such situations they can utilize a system called the grain loan system.
Seer, intrigued, repeats, grain loan system?
Rain elaborates on the system, explaining that farmers borrow food at a very low interest rate and then pay it back during the next harvest. Rain concludes that this method solves the food shortage, and since it's not a one-sided handout, the Demon King's castle doesn't suffer a loss either.
Seer enthusiastically agrees, yes. Seer, beaming with pure delight, offers her snack to Rain, inviting him to share.
A maid expresses her shock, questioning Seer's unprecedented offer to share her snack, to which Seer, a little flustered, confirms her intention. Rain, catching himself, quickly corrects his informal speech, while internally musing about Seer's unusual generosity with her snacks. Eldon playfully suggests tasting the cake Seer cherishes, prompting an immediate, enthusiastic declaration from Seer about its deliciousness, urging them to depart. As Rain walks away, he reflects on the significant trust he seems to have earned from Seer, especially given her willingness to share her precious snacks.
Cain approaches, formally greeting Lord Nahan upon his arrival.
Cain hands Rain a missive, informing him it arrived from the 71st floor, a revelation that visibly startles Rain. Rain's golden-eye narrows, a sharp realization dawning on him as he processes the implications of the message. A sinister smile spreads across Rain's face as he reads the missive, thinking everything is ready, then ominously declares that today's snack will be especially sweet for Seer. A powerful fist slams down as Andromalius roars in disbelief and fury, questioning Citri's audacity to declare war and challenge the 70th floor. The formidable demon king of the 70th floor, Andromalius, seethes with rage, declaring that Citri has completely lost her sanity. One of Andromalius's advisors urges caution, reminding the furious Demon King that despite her sealed powers, Citri was once a high-ranking Demon King whose intellect remains sharp. Andromalius challenges the idea that Citri would provoke a fight without a plan, asserting she has no real power to rely on, but Count Eugene Vermilion admits he harbors some suspicions.
At Andromalius's command, Count Eugene Vermilion reveals the circulating rumors of an alliance forged between the 71st and 72nd floors. Count Eugene Vermilion adds that their spy on the 71st floor has directly witnessed Citri frequently descending to the 72nd floor, strongly suggesting an undeniable collusion. Andromalius scoffs at the idea, dismissing Citri's reliance on the measly 72nd floor, but Count Eugene Vermilion cautions that while small, the 72nd floor wields Seer's evil sword, making them a force to reckon with. Furthermore, Count Eugene Vermilion reveals rumors circulating about the 72nd floor's newly appointed royal tutor, suggesting he is far from an ordinary individual. Andromalius reacts with disbelief to the mention of a royal tutor, questioning why such an exceptional individual would settle for a position on the 72nd floor. Count Eugene Vermilion admits the exact reason remains unknown, but confirms that this mysterious tutor is undeniably the architect of the alliance between the 71st and 72nd floors, a revelation that shocks Andromalius. Count Eugene Vermilion confirms the gravity of the situation, urging Andromalius to deal with the war decisively, then proposes an all-out assault, confident that their superior military might will render Citri and Seer's evil sword powerless. Count Eugene Vermilion leans in, whispering a critical detail to Andromalius, whose eyes widen in a sudden shock of realization. A fierce grin spreads across Andromalius's face as he accepts the proposal, vowing to demonstrate the overwhelming power difference to the arrogant forces of the 71st and 72nd floors. Andromalius suddenly notices the absence of Count Aaron Raiders, and his subordinate confirms that not only the Count but his entire faction is nowhere to be found. Andromalius's eye burns with fury as he curses the missing Count Aaron Raiders, immediately demanding that he be dragged before him.
The heavy clang of armored boots echoes as a soldier rushes in, gasping out terrible news to the Demon King. Andromalius, still on his throne, demands to know the cause of the sudden commotion as a kneeling soldier delivers the urgent message. The soldier reveals the shocking news: the enemy forces are already setting up camp directly outside the castle walls, leaving Andromalius stunned and speechless. Andromalius leaps from his throne, a furious realization dawning on him as he curses Aaron for his treacherous actions. Count Eugene Vermilion, along with other subordinates, urgently requests orders from Andromalius, assuring him that their forces are ready to march out and eradicate the enemy. The subordinates raise their fists in a unified cry, roaring for the death of the foolish Citri and the traitor Aaron. With a powerful gesture, Andromalius gives the command, "Good, all forces march out. Wipe those arrogant fools out all at once." Seer, now clad in a small helmet, complains to Rain that it feels stuffy. Rain gently reassures Seer, telling her to endure the uncomfortable armor a little longer as it could save her life, to which she reluctantly agrees. To motivate her, Rain promises Seer a slice of cake upon their return if she endures well, and her spirits immediately lift as she eagerly confirms her understanding. Rain asks Kane about the commander's whereabouts, noting that she should have already begun, and suggests they should also make haste. Rain tells Seer it's time to depart, while Kane watches them leave, offering a solemn prayer for their success in the upcoming battle. Before a swirling blue portal, Rain addresses Vice Commander Baruna, asking if he is ready, to which Baruna replies that he has been waiting. Vice Commander Baruna explains that Her Majesty Citri has provided a temporary portal capable of transporting them directly to the 70th floor. Rain internally notes that Citri provided a cheap portal, then quickly dismisses Vice Commander Baruna's questioning glance, urging them to proceed. With Seer securely in his arms, Rain steps resolutely into the swirling blue portal, ready to face the challenges of the 70th floor. The 70th floor materializes around Rain, revealing a vast, open field dominated by a swirling blue portal. Across from him, an assembly of armored figures stands guard, their forms silhouetted against the vibrant landscape. Meanwhile, high above on the battlements of a distant castle, shadowy, hooded figures observe the scene. One of them scoffs, questioning the intelligence of their enemies. The hooded commander, identified as Duncan, leader of Andromalius's Special Task Force Tenebris, declares that the enemy's decision to leave their castle empty will come at a severe cost. With a grim command, Duncan orders his subordinates to eliminate everything left behind. The shadowy figures respond with a unified, chilling affirmation, ready to execute his will. Back at the portal, an armored commander expresses concern to Rain, asking if it is truly wise to leave the Demon King's castle completely unguarded. The armored commander voices his apprehension, recalling rumors of Andromalius possessing a stealth unit and the potential disaster if they were to launch a surprise attack on the castle. Rain, with a knowing smirk, dismisses the commander's fears, asserting that any surprise attack would prove utterly useless against his preparations. As if on cue, a hooded intruder is violently launched across a grand hall, crashing to the ground with immense force, confirming Rain's foresight. Another intruder is sent flying, their surprised cry echoing through the silent halls as the castle's hidden defenses activate. A hooded intruder, visibly shaken, questions the nature of the overwhelming force they have encountered, realizing their infiltration has been utterly compromised. Kane, the head butler, stands amidst the chaos, holding a defeated intruder. He coolly asks the invaders who they are, stating he has no record of inviting anyone. The armored commander, astonished by Rain's precognition, asks when he learned of the impending attack. Rain simply replies that some things cannot be hidden. A third intruder is hurled through a window, glass shattering around them as they let out a pained scream, a testament to the castle's unexpected formidable defenses. A cat-eared maid, her spear still dripping with blood, cheerfully reports to Kane that her sector has been completely cleared. Another maid, with green hair, reports taking down 2 intruders on her side. She then curiously asks Kane about the state of the door, as he chuckles, implying his own involvement. A large, orc-like chef, holding a subdued intruder, assures everyone that they are alright, humorously stating that a small rat had simply snuck into the kitchen. The narrative confirms that while the castle's inhabitants remained unharmed, the unexpected guest, the hooded intruder, was far from fine, lying defeated on the floor. Rain, it is revealed, had long anticipated Andromalius's schemes. He had strategically deployed highly skilled servants, whose existence was known to very few, to counter any potential surprise attacks. The armored commander, despite his initial reservations, now acknowledges Rain's flawless deployment of personnel and impeccable strategy, admitting he has no choice but to recognize him as a formidable commander. Title card appears, declaring Rain's new role: I became the teacher of the weakest Demon King, as the armored commander awaits Rain's next orders. Rain corrects the armored commander's assumption, stating that his loyalty should not be directed towards him, but towards the true leader, Seer. Rain emphasizes that the one deserving loyalty is Lord Seer von Deveda, who stands right beside him, now clad in a small, adorable set of armor. Seer, in her miniature armor, adorably requests Rain to be their temporary commander. Rain, with a warm smile, gladly accepts her request. Rain then instructs the armored commander to head towards Commander Rin's forces to provide support, as Commander Rin should have already engaged with the Aaron Raiders.
The commander salutes, accepting his new orders.
Seer, brimming with excitement, asks Rain where they are headed.
Rain reveals their destination, to meet Her Majesty Citri, which delights Seer even further.
From a high vantage point overlooking a devastated landscape, Citri, alongside Kane, observes the chaotic battle.
She comments on the Aaron Raiders' unexpected cruelty.
Kane, standing next to Citri, expresses his surprise at how Rain managed to achieve such a significant victory over seemingly insignificant forces. Kane praises Rain's terrifyingly impressive information gathering, execution, and resourcefulness. Citri agrees, acknowledging Rain as a dangerous individual, and suggests they take action immediately.
Citri confronts a horned demon lord, warning him against interfering with Rain. She threatens that any wrong move will result in the 71st floor suffering the same fate as their current devastated location.
The Horned Demon Lord, standing beside Citri, affirms their strategy to simply play their part, take what they are owed, and then depart. As a massive explosion rocks the distant battlefield, Citri remarks on Rain's spectacular start to the conflict, watching the fiery display with a keen eye. The Horned Demon Lord reacts with fury to the news that the Aaron Raiders have breached the castle, cursing them as miserable traitors and expressing his disbelief at the turn of events. Another subordinate urges immediate action, but the Horned Demon Lord, clenching his fist, defiantly declares that as long as he possesses his current power, all his enemies will inevitably fall into his hands. Another devastating explosion erupts, sending debris flying and a pained cry through the air, signaling the intensity of the ongoing battle. The Horned Demon Lord, with a sly grin, remarks on the impeccable timing of their guest's arrival as armored figures, including the cat-eared woman, appear on the scene. The Horned Demon Lord commands his subordinates to welcome their guest as more armored figures charge forward. The cat-eared woman sarcastically comments on the 70th floor's terrible hospitality. Intense battle rages on as Andromalius, the Horned Demon Lord, clashes fiercely with Aaron Raiders, the armored warrior. Red energy pulses with every impact, signaling a brutal exchange of blows.
Aaron Raiders observes Andromalius swinging his massive hammer, acknowledging his opponent's prowess. He notes, "You're quite agile. You don't hold the title of Seer's demonic sword for nothing." Andromalius, with a menacing grin, unleashes a powerful, red-infused strike, asking, "In that case, how about this?"
The force of the blow causes a nearby horned woman to gasp in shock. Aaron Raiders' eye widens in distress, a tear escaping as Andromalius, bloodied but triumphant, declares, "Things are about to get interesting from here on out."
Suddenly, a monstrous hydra appears, its glowing form intimidating the battlefield. Aaron Raiders, taken aback, questions, "A hydra?" Meanwhile, Citri arrives, observing Rain. "The atmosphere here seems great," she comments. Rain, surprised by her presence, asks, "Why did you come over here?" Citri calmly replies, "I came to check if you were doing well." Citri, holding Seer, discusses the ongoing conflict with an unnamed demon lord. She confirms, "I did exactly as you wanted, but as for Andromalius, are you sure Seer's demonic sword and dragon will be enough?"
The demon lord assures her, "They will be, if I lend them a little help from the sidelines." Citri then instructs the demon lord, "So please take him with you," referring to Seer, whom she is holding.
Seer, the small armored figure, reacts with confusion and alarm.
"Huh," she exclaims, then asks, "What is this?" as she is handed over.
Rain intervenes, holding out a small whale toy.
"Hold on a second," he says, explaining, "There are too many things to look out for if we bring Seer along." Rain offers the toy to Seer, telling her, "Play with this friend for a bit and I'll be right back."
Seer, however, protests, "And no, I want to go with you too." Rain's golden eye narrows as he suddenly senses something. He mutters, "Wait a minute,"
his expression turning serious.
A red aura emanates from Rain's hand as he recognizes the familiar, dangerous energy. "This aura," he states, "it shouldn't be here right now." Citri asks, "What's the matter?"
Rain, with urgency, declares, "Commander Rin might be in danger.
I really must go." Citri looks on, puzzled, with a simple "huh?"
Rain makes his swift departure, calling out, "I'll be right back." Below, a vast castle is engulfed in battle, its walls under siege as countless figures clash.
Citri and Seer look on, astonished by Rain's sudden burst of speed. Citri wonders, did I miss his movements? Just how strong is he?
A subordinate attempts to speak to Citri, "Lord Citri, this is an opportunity," but she cuts him off sharply, "Shut up, this is a test." She explains, "He's checking whether or not I truly intend to maintain this alliance.
So drop any ideas of playing tricks. Treat Seer just as you would treat me."
The subordinate bows deeply, acknowledging Citri's stern command. "Yes, ma'am," he replies, accepting her directive regarding Seer. Seer beams, happily clutching the whale toy and another stuffed animal.
Citri observes, thinking, honestly, look at her, does she really like it that much? Seer makes a cute sound, coo.
Citri continues, "But why did it have to be a whale, of all things?" Back on the battlefield, Aaron Raiders fights desperately with his sword, blood splattering as he attempts to defend himself against the overwhelming force. Aaron Raiders collapses, defeated. Andromalius stands over him, gloating, "Seeing you frozen in fear is quite a sight, Aaron Raiders."
Kneeling armored figure defiantly shouts, "S8 shut up." Andromalius merely laughs, "Yes, you might as well struggle frantically since that's all you're capable of anyway." As the monstrous Hydra looms, Andromalius declares, "This is the end." Aaron Raiders, defeated, realizes this isn't just any ordinary Hydra. It possesses power rivaling at least a mid-tier Demon King. This has gone terribly wrong. Aaron Raiders' face contorts in terror as he utters a final, desperate plea, "Your Majesty, I am so sorry." Suddenly, a mysterious, powerful force intervenes. Aaron Raiders, bewildered, questions, "What is that? And what on earth just happened?" as he witnesses the impossible. Andromalius lies defeated amidst the fallen, gasping and panting from the sudden, overwhelming attack. He struggles to ask, "Why you? Who the hell are you?" Astaroth, sitting regally on his throne, reveals himself. "Demon King Andromalius," he states, "I advise you to surrender." For more thrilling recaps and to support the creators, remember to check out Thunderscans for exclusive chapters and updates. You can find chapters from 1 to 20 exclusively on en-thunderscans.com. Your support means the world. Astaroth reiterates his command, his gaze unwavering as he looks down upon Andromalius. "I suggest you surrender," he warns. Andromalius, still in shock and pain, struggles to comprehend the sudden turn of events. "What just happened?" he exclaims. Andromalius's internal thoughts swirl with awe and confusion. More importantly, what is this incredible magical power? He ponders. Astaroth stands, a shadowy, powerful aura emanating from him. Andromalius recognizes the immense power, thinking, "This feeling, it's just like when I saw the first-ranked Demon King Zeus von Deus." Andromalius, held captive, grudgingly admits, "Why you're not half bad." He then questions Astaroth's motives. "Why would someone like you join such a pathetic faction?" Astaroth raises a glowing red dagger, his patience clearly exhausted. With cold precision, he states, "You talk too much." In a desperate attempt to save himself, Andromalius cries out, "Join me, and I'll give you everything you desire." Astaroth, his interest piqued, simply asks, "Everything?" Andromalius, sweating with fear, continues to bargain, "Just name what you want." Astaroth's response is chillingly clear, "The top." Astaroth's eye reflects a shadowy figure as he reveals his ultimate ambition, the absolute highest point a Demon King can reach. Astaroth dismisses Andromalius's ambition as impossible for his current level. Andromalius, realizing the full scope of Astaroth's plan, exclaims, "So that's why you went to Devata?" Astaroth's blade presses closer, a grim finality in his voice. "And," he states, "I have no intention of forgiving you for messing with a power you can't handle." Rain unleashes a devastating counterattack, his blade cutting through the air with immense force, a powerful response to Astaroth's threat. Rain's command rings out with undeniable authority, declaring the immediate end to the conflict. "The war is over," he proclaims, his eyes burning with resolve. His voice echoes across the battlefield, a clear order to the defeated forces. "Soldiers of Andromalius, drop your weapons," he commands. Rain issues a final warning, "Surrender now, and your lives will be spared. But if you continue to resist, there will be no mercy." The enemy soldiers, including Eldon, react in shock, questioning, "Lord Andromalius is in no way." Back at the camp, Cain expresses his disbelief. He barely laughed. "How is it already over?" He wonders aloud, before quickly adding, "Actually, no." Knowing him, it makes perfect sense. Citri listens, a subtle expression of surprise on her face at the swift conclusion of the battle. Suddenly, Seer's face lights up with pure joy as she exclaims, "Everyone!" It's Teacher's voice. Epsilon stands ready, a formidable armored presence, as Citri observes the situation from a distance. The cat-eared woman, Commander Lin, bows her head in apology. "Lord Rain," she says, "I let my guard down." Rain reassures her, "Don't beat yourself up too much, Commander. It's just because you haven't been on a battlefield in a while." Rain, with a knowing smile, informs the cat-eared woman, "Oh, by the way, Citri is the one who took down Andromalius. You know what I mean, right?" She responds with a firm, "Understood. I will make sure everyone keeps their mouths shut." Rain approves, "Great, I'll explain the details later." Rain turns to his vice commander, instructing him, "Vice Commander, please handle the cleanup with Count Raduz. I need to go check on Seer." The vice commander dutifully replies, "Yes, Lord Rain." A sudden realization hits the cat-eared woman. "See, come to think of it, where is Her Majesty?" Rain calmly replies, "With Her Majesty, Citri." The cat-eared woman's worry intensifies. "Are you saying she is alone with another Demon King right now?" Rain clarifies, "An allied Demon King, to be exact." She still hesitates. Citri isn't stupid. She won't do anything rash. That's true, but... Scene shifts to a serene camp, a tent standing peacefully. Yet, an unseen observer mutters in disbelief, "Unbelievable." Cain, still processing the swift victory, remarks, "This wasn't supposed to end this easily." Seer looks up, curious, with a small HM? Seer, with pure excitement, announces, "Teacher is coming." Citri, caught off guard, reacts, What do you? I didn't sense him at all." Rain steps into view, a slight smile on his face as Seer rushes to greet him. "Teacher," she exclaims. He asks, "Were you girls having fun?" To which Seer enthusiastically replies, "Yes." Rain gently pats Seer's head, while Citri and the other man stare in astonishment. What the? How are you back already? Citri exclaims. Rain simply states, you can get the battle report from Commander Lin once she arrives. Rain then presents Citri with a heavy bag. Here, take this, he instructs. Citri, surprised, asks, what is this? Rain reveals the contents of the bag, Andromalius's head. He then instructs Citri, please tell everyone that you were the one who killed him. Citri, flabbergasted, protests, and me? You're the one who did it. Why would I? Rain simply smiles, offering his reasoning. Because we're allies, he states, a subtle glint in his eye. Citri and the other man exchange uneasy glances, the latter thinking, seeing him smile like that makes me uneasy. The Grand Castle stands under the clear sky, a distant thud echoing, hinting at recent events. A faint blue energy hums, a residual trace of powerful magic. The blue energy intensifies, swirling with an ethereal glow, a clear sign of lingering magical activity. Rain and Seer return to a damaged entrance, where Cain greets them. You've returned? Your Majesty, Lord Rain, he says. Rain observes, the door is broken? Rain, holding his rosary, comments, sounds like we had an uninvited guest. Cain, with a relieved smile, receives a nod from Rain, who states, you did well. Cain congratulates Rain. Congratulations on conquering the 70th floor. Rain, ever forward-looking, replies, we've only just taken our first step. Cain mentions the next task will be busy preparing to relocate the Demon King's castle. Rain, holding Seer, calmly responds, there's no rush on that, Cain. Rain drops a bombshell. I'm planning to give the 70th floor's castle to Citri. Both Seer and Cain react with utter shock, Cain exclaiming, excuse me? As Rain and Seer walk away, Cain follows, still perplexed. Aren't we taking too much of a loss here? He questions. Cain, looking at Rain's back, presses further. Are you saying you intend to hand even that over to Queen Citri? Rain confirms, officially, yes. Rain explains his strategic decision. Right now, we are in desperate need of resources like territory. Our finances aren't at a point where we can be self-sufficient yet. Rain's eyes glint with shrewd calculation as he explains that Citri would never accept his offer blindly. From her perspective, she needs to prove her formidable power to the world. Cain, taken aback, asks if Rain had truly planned all of this out. With a confident smirk, Rain retorts that he is no pushover and wouldn't simply hand over territory for nothing. With decisive footsteps, Rain declares that his immediate focus will be on Seer's education and managing internal affairs. As Rain ascends the grand staircase, he lists the overwhelming tasks ahead, replacing outdated equipment, establishing a stable cash flow, and most critically, identifying the true backer behind Andromalius. Cain acknowledges his lord's directives. Cain then inquires how Rain was so certain they could secure victory over Aaron Radus. Rain pauses, a slight smirk playing on his lips. He simply states that it was a matter of pure luck. Internally, Rain reveals the truth. His success was merely due to a random sub-event that popped up in the game world he now inhabits. Cain, reflecting on Rain's luck, acknowledges his master's extraordinary abilities. He concludes that Rain is undeniably someone Her Majesty, Seer, must keep by her side. Turning to leave, Rain casually tells Cain, good luck fixing the door. Cain promptly affirms his understanding. Walking through the vast, empty halls, Rain muses on his next steps. With the immediate crises handled, he will dedicate himself to Seer's training and lessons, teaching her the true duties of a monarch. After all, he reminds himself, this place isn't truly his to rule. Rain gently touches Seer's forehead, affirming her identity. Seer von Devata, he declares, it's you. Seer, held securely in Rain's arms, beams with delight, exclaiming that his lessons are truly fun. Rain smiles warmly, expressing his pleasure that Seer is enjoying herself. He notes with satisfaction that his teaching methods seem to be effective and Seer genuinely likes them too. Suddenly, a voice cries out no, as Rain holds Seer and a new figure appears to interrupt their moment. The cat-eared woman, holding a broom, reminds them cheerfully that hard work demands equally hard rest, adding a light-hearted laugh. Seer pouts, protesting that she isn't tired at all. Rain, observing her, realizes that refusing her insistence on continuing would only make her sulk. He devises a secret plan. He'll simply wait for her to fall asleep and sneak off to work. Reluctantly, Rain agrees to a quick nap before resuming his duties, to which Seer joyfully cheers for her teacher. Rain looks at Seer with concern, asking if she's hurt anywhere. A green-haired maid with ram-like horns responds, reassuring him that she is fine. The horned maid internally acknowledges Rain's sharp intellect, noting that he has already uncovered the castle's secrets and accurately assessed their combat strength. Seer, tucked into bed, asks Rain if something happened to Leah. Rain gently dismisses her concern, explaining he was merely being cautious. Rain playfully asks if Seer will cuddle her stuffed animal, Whitey, while she sleeps. Seer enthusiastically confirms, and Rain bids her sweet dreams. As Rain tries to leave, Seer holds his hand, pouting and protesting that she wanted to sleep in her own bed while letting out a frustrated whine. Rain looks thoughtful, pondering if Seer's clinginess stems from her father's early passing or if she genuinely finds emotional security with him. With a soft smile, Rain relents and promises they will sleep together, gently patting her head.
Camera pans across a quaint, bustling town nestled beneath the towering castle wall as morning light bathes the scene. In a grand chamber, Demon King Dantalion, seated on his throne, wonders if Citri has somehow managed to break the seal on her formidable power. Commander Leonard, standing nearby, explains that it's because the last of Seer's 4 swords remains in their possession. Minister of Military Affairs, Alvis, adds that they must make thorough preparations. Alvis then questions Dantalion's intention to form an alliance with the individual in question. Dantalion retorts, asking if they have any better options. Leonard and Alvis listen intently as Dantalion explains that while Andromalius may have a terrible personality and be a brute, he still outclasses Dantalion in sheer martial prowess. He concludes that if he does nothing, he will fail. Dantalion's eyes narrow, and he barks in order to stop talking and prepare the letter, asserting that Decorabia will have no reason to refuse their proposal. A gentle knock echoes, breaking the morning silence. A maid's voice announces the tea is ready for Lord Nahen. The maid, carrying a tray, steps into the room and gasps softly, a look of surprise on her face as she observes the scene before her. She quietly reflects that both Rain and Seer must be utterly exhausted, seeing them still asleep in the grand bed. A closer look reveals Rain and Seer peacefully asleep, with Seer nestled comfortably against Rain, a tender moment after their recent struggles. Later, Rain and Citri discuss the aftermath of their recent victory. Rain clears his throat, acknowledging the fair division of territories and troops, leaving only the treasure to claim. Citri reminds Rain that she received the Demon King's castle and Andromalius's head, then asks if they can have the first pick of the treasure. Rain agrees, as long as the division remains fair. Rain instructs Citri that while she'll be occupied with internal affairs, she must still make time for training at least once a week, emphasizing that their efforts would be wasted if she stopped. Citri, with a slight frown, reminds Rain that she is also a Demon King and asserts her commitment, tells him to stop worrying. Rain acknowledges the critical need for post-war cleanup and resolves to finalize the guidelines by the end of the night, his glowing eyes fixed on his work. Another knock sounds at the door, and Rain grants permission to enter. A fox-eared maid informs Rain that Seer's lesson must be cancelled today. Rain's expression immediately shifts to concern, asking if something happened to Seer. The fox-eared maid explains that Her Majesty has a slight fever. Rain's concern escalates into shock, his voice rising in alarm. Rain's mind races, questioning why Seer, who was perfectly fine yesterday, suddenly fell ill. He wonders if her schedule was too demanding or if the war had taken too much out of her. The fox-eared maid reassures him with a smile, explaining that it appears to be just a mild cold and that children Seer's age can sometimes fall ill unexpectedly. Rain processes her words, acknowledging the truth in her statement. He realizes that Seer is still a child, prone to common illnesses. The fox-eared maid confidently states that a day or two of rest will have Seer back to normal. Rain thanks her and asks her to take good care of Seer. Alone again, Rain chastises himself, realizing he should have anticipated such a simple reality. He reminds himself that this is real life, not a game. Rain visits Seer, gently asking how she feels and presenting her with her favorite doll. Seer, upon seeing him, joyfully exclaims "Teacher." Seer's face lights up with pure happiness as she clutches the doll, exclaiming her thanks to Rain. Rain, beaming, reveals that he brought even more dolls, gesturing to the growing pile around him. Seer, now surrounded by a plethora of stuffed animals, thinks to herself that there are simply too many dolls. Rain looks confused, holding up a penguin doll and a piece of paper, wondering if this isn't already the third one he's given her. He observes Seer, realizing she's deep in slumber, surrounded by the many dolls. He wonders what pleasant dreams she might be having. Rain gently places his hand on Seer's forehead, noting that her fever has gone down. He predicts she'll be better by tomorrow. He decides to work nearby while keeping a watchful eye on her. Suddenly, Seer stirs and calls out "Teacher." Rain, startled, apologizes for waking her. Rain gently asks how she feels. Seer replies that she's okay and asks if he was worried about her. He smiles warmly, confirming that of course he was. He encourages her to get more sleep, promising to stay by her side. Seer, however, points to his work, wanting to look at it. Rain insists she rests today and they'll work together tomorrow. Rain emphasizes that Seer's recovery is the most important thing. He then playfully adds that it would be a shame if she missed out on pudding tomorrow because she was still sick. Seer's eyes widen in shock at the mention of missing pudding, a gasp escaping her lips. Rain smiles contentedly, then softly wishes her sweet dreams, ensuring her peaceful rest. The narrative shifts to a title card, marking a new chapter or arc in the story. Rain, the butler, apologizes for interrupting Rain's meal, informing him that Captain El Raja has submitted the inventory report. Rain dismisses the apology and asks him to bring it over. Kane then asks Rain if he is looking for something specific. Rain confirms, revealing a crucial item that must be recovered from the 70th floor. The narrator explains the importance of equipment in this world, highlighting how it boosts character growth and is essential to acquire. Rain's hand is seen writing, as he reveals this is a hidden piece of information he painstakingly uncovered in the 40th ending. Rain muses to himself, expressing surprise that such a vital secret was hidden so early in the game's progression.
Rain instructs Kane to ensure the specific item is secured. He then directs Kane to carefully choose the remaining items and deliver them to the captain. The system identifies a critical find, a broken sword of unknown origin. You can see a groove where a gem should have been, but it's gone now. Kane, understanding the gravity of the task, responds, understood. As Rain's instructions are followed, a treasure chest opens, revealing a dazzling array of colorful, sparkling crystals. Seer's eyes light up with pure delight, exclaiming, "Wow, it's sparkly!" Another chest is unveiled, filled with shimmering gold bars. Seer, still captivated by the brilliance, points and declares, "It's sparkly over here, too." Rain oversees the recovered treasures, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips as he remarks, "Good, this is it." The cat-eared woman questions, "Yes," but Rain quickly dismisses it. Never mind. The vast expanse of the Floor 70 warehouse is revealed, overflowing with crates of recovered goods. The cat-eared woman expresses her awe. "Just splitting it in half got US this much? That's amazing. Did you recover everything?" Rain confirms, "Yes. His Majesty Citri was very cooperative, so everything went smoothly." Seer, holding her teddy bear, salutes with an adorable, surprised expression, announcing, "Your Majesty, you're here." She then adds with a slight stutter, yes. Gee, good work." The cat-eared woman stands before Rain, presenting a specific item. She states, "This is the item Lord Nahan specifically told me to bring back." Work subordinates carefully present a box containing a unique mask-like artifact to Rain. The cat-eared woman asks him to verify. "Can you check if it's the right one?" Rain reaches into the box, his expression confirming recognition. He declares, "Yes, this is the one." The legendary Sword of Blood Tears is revealed, glowing with a dark, ominous energy. The narration explains, when mana flows into the blood-red gemstone, it looks like the sword is shedding tears of blood. That's how it got its name. Rain's thoughts echo, acknowledging the sword's immense power. In the game, equipping it boosted growth efficiency 5-fold. I don't know if it will work like that in reality, but it's really useful. Rain holds the broken sword, his thoughts continuing to reveal its importance. It has the highest attack power in the early game, and the fact that it lets the wielder learn special magic makes it ridiculously overpowered. Seer, noticing the sword, innocently asks, "What's that, teacher?" Rain smiles gently at Seer, revealing, "It's a gift for Seer." Seer, confused by its broken state, questions, "But it's broken?" Rain reassures her, "It's okay. I can fix it. I know where the broken blade and the gem are." Rain, holding the broken sword, outlines the next steps. "We should check the inventory first, then go fix the sword." Seer, ever curious, asks, "What will happen when it's fixed?" Rain's words ignite Seer's imagination as he promises, "Well, it will become all shiny and sparkly." Seer's eyes widen with excitement, a thought bubble confirming her delight, shiny and sparkly. The cat-eared woman suggests, "Should I call a blacksmith?" Rain dismisses the idea with a wave of his hand, explaining, "No, this isn't the kind of sword that needs a blacksmith." He then reiterates his command, "Check the inventory first." Rain directs the cat-eared woman, "Move this inventory to the armory. This one's for the soldiers." Meanwhile, Seer is still enchanted by the glittering treasures, remarking, "This one's pretty. That one's pretty too." Seer gazes with wide, sparkling eyes at the multitude of gems and treasures, completely mesmerized as she declares, "All of them are so sparkly." Rain observes Seer with a thoughtful, almost amused expression, his golden eyes reflecting a deeper consideration. Rain turns to Seer, offering kindly, "Seer, is there anything you like?" She responds with a surprised gasp, Seer, initially hesitant, says, "No, I'm okay." Rain gently pats her head, reassuring her with a warm smile, "It's okay. Everything here is yours, so don't hold back. If you want something, just take it." Seer, after a moment, makes her choice, then, "I'll take this." She selects a magnificent golden crown adorned with red gems. Rain's internal thought observes, "A crown. Guess blood really does tell." Rain's thoughts drift to their next objective. "Once you're done picking things out, do you want to go somewhere with teacher?" Seer's voice then cuts through, asking, "Teacher, why are we here?" Rain and Seer stand within the dark, expansive inside an abandoned mine on the 70th floor. Rain explains their purpose. "This is where the pieces to complete your sword are." Seer, looking into the depths, worries, "It looks really deep. How will we find them?" As they venture deeper into the abandoned mine, Rain reassures Seer, "I know exactly where the pieces are, so forks in the road won't be a problem." Seer looks around the desolate mine, expressing doubt. "It doesn't look like anything's here?" Rain responds with confidence, "I'll find it in a second." Rain scans the environment with intense focus, his eyes sharp as he searches for the hidden components of the sword. Rain bends down, sifting through the rocky debris, muttering to himself, "It should be around here." Seer watches patiently from behind. A brilliant red glow emanates from within the rocks. Rain's voice rings out with satisfaction, Found it." Rain holds up a glowing red piece of the sword, a playful smile on his face. Seer looks at it with confusion, asking, "Is that really the sword?" Rain teases, "Not yet, okay?" Rain's feet are shown firmly planted on the ground as he continues his search, affirming, "Of course, I'm not done." Red energy slashes violently through the air, indicating Rain's active use of his powers to locate the remaining pieces.
Rain extends his hand, a crimson aura flaring as he channels his power, declaring, "Now I just need to find the most important part." Rain's hand glows intensely with raw power, followed by a wide shot of him enveloped in a swirling red aura, concentrating his search. Before them, a massive, ancient gargoyle statue guards a grand door. Rain observes, "There's one last obstacle." Rain gently pulls Seer closer, telling her, "Seer, come here." Seer points to the gargoyle, asking, "So we just have to go through that door?" Rain confirms, "More or less," then adds, "From now on, I'll carry you." Gargoyle's eyes ignite with a fierce golden glow. Its stony form animates, declaring in a booming voice, "Intruder, you may not pass." Rain, carrying Seer, nonchalantly remarks, "Gargoyles are almost extinct, so take a good look while you can." Seer, amazed, exclaims, "Wow, amazing. The statue's talking, teacher." The gargoyle, enraged, demands, "Yes, but who exactly are you?" Rain cuts him off sharply, "You, shut up." The gargoyle recoils in shock, uttering, "What?" Rain's golden eye glows with power as a devastating red energy blast erupts, tearing apart the gargoyle's mouth. He coldly states, "Don't interrupt Seer's lesson." Rain, still holding Seer, instructs Epsilon to wait outside, stating he will take Seer inside. The massive gargoyle, Epsilon, bows its head in immediate compliance, acknowledging Rain's command. Seer gazes up in wonder as a brilliant red crystal, radiating intense power, pulsates on a grand altar before her. She exclaims in pure awe. Rain's hand gestures towards the fragmented red sword, which hangs suspended, dripping with dark energy. He calmly declares it's time to proceed. With a subtle motion, Rain completes the process and the broken pieces of the sword reassemble, now resting perfectly formed on the altar beside the glowing crystal. The red crystal flares with blinding white light, emitting powerful energy waves that surge outward. Rain holds Seer close as a radiant golden aura engulfs them both, the residual energy from the crystal enveloping them in a protective embrace. The newly forged red sword stands majestically on the altar, pulsing with power. Rain asks Seer for her opinion, to which she responds with wide-eyed admiration, finding it incredibly pretty. Rain, with a warm smile, presents the sword to Seer, announcing it is a gift for her. Seer, clutching her teddy bear, reacts with surprised delight, questioning if it's truly for her, and Rain confirms it with a gentle assurance. Overjoyed, Seer raises her new sword high, its red blade glinting in the light as she expresses her heartfelt gratitude to Rain. System reveals the sword's formidable properties, an equip effect granting an astounding all stats plus 500% and a bind effect that enhances its own stats while amplifying absorbed mana or blood. Kane questions Rain's choice of a sword for Seer, who clutches the weapon. Rain calmly explains that it's time for Seer to begin sword training. Kane expresses shock, realizing Rain brought back more than just a sword from the 70th floor, specifically identifying Epsilon as a gargoyle. Rain, with a knowing smirk, suggests naming him Argol the Gatekeeper. Kane remarks that Epsilon seems too large to guard the Demon King's castle. Rain clarifies that Epsilon will be guarding somewhere else, leaving Kane utterly bewildered in questioning. Rain grins slyly, suggesting Epsilon is perfectly suited for keeping out small, fragile, and annoying humans. Kane strokes his mustache thoughtfully, a hint of concern in his eyes as he processes Rain's unsettling remarks. Rain issues a chilling warning to Epsilon, reminding him of his assignment and the consequence of failure. Disposal at Rain's whim. Epsilon solemnly acknowledges the threat. Rain shifts the conversation, informing Kane that he heard he had something important to report and suggesting they discuss it privately in the office. Kane's voice echoes, revealing a critical development. Dantalion and Decarabia have made contact, hinting at a potentially dangerous alliance. Kane confirms the alliance, explaining that if the 69th and 68th floors unite, their combined strength will become unmanageable. Rain muses on the difficult situation, acknowledging that a direct conflict is currently unfeasible, but they cannot allow the alliance to solidify. He concludes that only one option remains. Rain declares their strategy to destabilize Dantalion's faction. Kane immediately counters, highlighting Dantalion's power and their intelligence, unlike Andromalius. Rain prompts Kane, asking if Dantalion's faction is known for its many merchants. Kane confirms, explaining their belief that commerce is key to class advancement. Kane states that merchants value trust above all else, then proposes a plan to destroy the trust, asserting that Dantalion's faction would then collapse from within. Kane acknowledges Rain's point but expresses skepticism, arguing that trust built over countless years of trade cannot possibly collapse overnight. Rain, looking thoughtful, clarifies to Kane that he never intended to destroy Dantalion's trust overnight. Rain reveals his long-term strategy, explaining that training Seer and strengthening their own foundation will take at least 5 years. During this time, he intends to slowly dismantle Dantalion's commercial policies, utilizing a strategy he employed in his past life playing a game. Rain states their goal is to become Dantalion's competition, which causes Kane to question the approach. Rain clarifies they will conduct business on the 70th floor, operating discreetly, not in the open. Kane, connecting the dots, asks if Rain plans to involve Citri again. Rain corrects him with a smirk, calling it cooperation rather than use.
Kane expresses doubt that Citri would willingly take such a risk. Rain reassures him, confident that the offer will be too tempting for even Citri to refuse. Kane then asks about the product they intend to sell, wondering if Rain already has something in mind. Rain responds with a confident smirk, stating it will be something that drives merchants absolutely crazy. Rain, radiating confidence, declares his intention to sell something entirely new, something the demon realm currently lacks. Title card appears, I became the teacher of the weakest demon king, followed by the ominous tagline, Demon Kings, we hunt them. The scene shifts, revealing Sodor City on the outskirts of the Holy Kingdom, dominated by a towering clock. Inside a bustling tavern, a rumor circulates that guardians are scarce, a claim brought back by a recent adventurer from a portal. The white-haired boy questions his companion if these demon soldiers protecting the demon realm are truly gone. Pink-haired girl urges the white-haired boy, asserting this is their chance to hunt demonic beasts and demons for a fortune. The white-haired boy, considering her words, mentions the recent high price of Ram tribe horns. The pink-haired girl excitedly declares she knows where the Ram tribe gathers, promising easy access to their valuable horns. The white-haired boy contemplates her words, wondering if this truly is their big opportunity. The white-haired boy observes the bustling crowd, noting the unusually high number of adventurers. The pink-haired girl confirms his thoughts, realizing the rumors about the Guardian's disappearance have drawn even more people, making their plans seem more viable. Gathering swells with eager adventurers, all drawn by the whispers of opportunity in the demon realm, a dangerous but potentially lucrative frontier. A new voice cuts through the crowd as Riku Balbar approaches, revealing he overheard their discussion about the Ram tribe and boldly asking to join their venture. Riku Balbar introduces himself and his companion, Melissa, a formidable duo whose imposing presence immediately puts the white-haired boys group on edge. Luke's eyes widen in recognition, realizing Riku Balbar and Melissa are both A-rank adventurers. The white-haired boy, sensing danger, quickly urges compliance, knowing that challenging such powerful figures could lead to their disappearance without a trace. With a decisive nod, Riku Balbar takes the lead, his imposing figure and massive axe setting a demanding pace as they begin their journey into the demon realm. Elsewhere, other adventurers debate the risks and rewards of the demon realm, highlighting the diverse motivations and varying levels of courage among those seeking fortune. The pink-haired girl guides the group, confirming they are close to their destination. Riku Balbar, however, voices his lingering unease about the mysterious vanishing of the Guardians, prompting the white-haired boy to warn everyone to remain vigilant. Luke questions Riku Balbar's mention of floors within the demon realm. Riku explains the widely accepted theory that the demon realm is structured into multiple, distinct levels, each with its own unique challenges and dangers. As Luke likens the demon realm to a tower, the pink-haired girl suddenly spots a Ram tribe member ahead, urgently signaling for everyone to hide. Riku Balbar confirms the target is genuine, and Luke, eager for the hunt, asks if they should attack immediately, his eyes fixed on the distant prey. Riku Balbar proposes a deal, demanding the valuable ram horns for himself while offering the rest of the carcass to the others. Luke, visibly frustrated, points out the horns are the entire point of the hunt. Melissa places a glowing hand on Luke's arm, her words a veiled threat. She reminds him of his future, subtly pressuring him to comply with Riku Balbar's demands if he wishes to return home safely. Melissa's power flares as she reiterates her warning, leaving Luke speechless and paralyzed by the sudden display of overwhelming force from the A-rank adventurer. Luke's mind races, a chilling realization dawning on him that Riku Balbar and Melissa had planned this deception from the start. He bitterly acknowledges the futility of resistance against two A-rank adventurers blessed by divine power. Resigned, Luke agrees to Riku Balbar's terms but demands that Riku handle the fighting. Riku dismisses him, making it clear he never intended to rely on their help in the first place. Suddenly, a violent tremor shakes the ground, throwing the white-haired boy and his companions off balance as Riku Balbar and Melissa are caught off guard by the unexpected disturbance. The white-haired boy cries out, questioning the sudden earthquake and checking on his companions, while the pink-haired girl struggles to maintain her footing amidst the chaos. Riku Balbar curses the unexpected disturbance, fearing it will scare away their prey and ruin his carefully laid plans for the Ram tribe hunt. A monstrous, winged gargoyle descends from the sky, its menacing voice echoing with a chilling declaration, "Found you, the last little rat." Riku Balbar stares in utter disbelief and terror, his face pale as he whispers the creature's name. A gargoyle? The sheer power of the monster is palpable. Melissa screams for them to flee, recognizing the immense danger. Luke, in a desperate attempt, tries to aid Riku Balbar, but the white-haired boy pulls him back, insisting they save themselves. The white-haired boy desperately calls out to the pink-haired girl, who stands frozen, barely able to utter a sound as terror grips her. Her eyes wide with horror, the pink-haired girl utters a single, chilling word, "Guardians." The realization of their true identity sends shivers down her spine. The scene shifts to a new location, where a blue-haired woman, Captain Lin, is addressed by a subordinate, awaiting orders in a formal setting. Captain Lin's eyes narrow with resolve as she delivers her sole, unwavering command, her authority absolute.
Surrounded by her armored forces, Captain Lin issues a direct order: capture every last one of them alive, as her soldiers close in on the adventurers, revealing their true objective. Luke, now captured, observes other imprisoned figures with a bewildered expression, questioning why the demons are capturing humans instead of simply killing them, a twist he hadn't anticipated. In a lavish chamber, the cat-eared woman reports to Rain and Seer, detailing the successful capture of 276 humans over the past month. Seer expresses childlike wonder at the number, while the cat-eared woman notes it's still a little short. The cat-eared woman remarks on Rain's unexpected strategy of hunting humans, a feat only made possible through an alliance with Argol and the 71st floor, expanding their influence. Rain's inner monologue reveals his ruthless pragmatism. For the sake of a perfect ending, he will stop at nothing, viewing humans as disposable insects unworthy of mercy. Captain Lin reports to Rain, cautioning that while withdrawing the guards successfully lured humans, the residents of the 72nd floor are growing increasingly uneasy about the captured humans, threatening stability. Cradling Seer, Rain contemplates the shifting public sentiment and the declining capture rate, acknowledging the need for more humans despite the growing unrest, seeking a new strategy. Rain turns to Captain Lin, inquiring about individuals capable of adjustment or mind manipulation, seeking a new method to control human behavior. Captain Lin confirms that such individuals are plentiful. A sinister smile spreads across Rain's face as he proposes a final, insidious step to manipulate humans into wanting to return to the demon realm, turning them into willing prey. Two adventurers lament the growing desperation for quests, noting that even high-ranking individuals are now seeking out the perilous demon realm, as normal rewards are no longer sufficient. Suddenly, Luke bursts through the guild doors, battered and desperate, pleading for help as a female adventurer rushes to his side, horrified by his condition, leaving the fate of the demon realm's victims uncertain. Luke, battered and desperate, bursts through the guild doors, revealing his harrowing escape from the demon realm and urgently stating that all the missing people are being held captive by the Guardians. Continues his frantic plea, revealing that Ari and Dane are also among the captives, imploring for immediate help to save them. The female adventurer, Angela, attempts to soothe his frantic state, urging him to calm down so they can understand the full scope of the crisis. Suddenly, Adelbert Grants, the S-rank guild master of Soder City, interjects, his voice authoritative, questioning the young adventurer, Luke, about the demon's motives for capturing humans. Luke, visibly distressed and sweating, denies any knowledge, claiming he didn't have the luxury to investigate, but Adelbert presses him, asking if he's truly certain he holds no information. Adelbert, his gaze piercing, openly admits his doubts, questioning if Luke is truly just a survivor who barely escaped with his life. His eyes glowing faintly, Adelbert challenges the notion that a mere C-rank adventurer like Luke could have escaped the demon realm alone. He reveals his true suspicion, stating that Luke's heartbeat sounds precisely like that of a liar, indicating a deeper deception at play. Adelbert observes that Luke's heartbeat has suddenly calmed, as if controlled, leading him to conclude that Luke was mentally manipulated by demons. With a chilling, wide grin and glowing eyes, Luke drops his facade, mocking Adelbert's insight into mental manipulation, acknowledging it as worthy of an S rank. Luke, now fully revealed as an enemy agent, lunges forward with a drawn dagger, his eyes burning with malicious intent. In a blinding flash of blue energy, Adelbert counters Luke's attack with a swift, precise strike, sending him sprawling backward as blood erupts. Adelbert, standing over the subdued Luke, orders Angela to immediately inform other guilds, issuing a strict warning that they are absolutely not to enter the demon realm, a command Angela promptly acknowledges. Adelbert loudly declares the immediate shutdown of Soder City's portal, silencing any potential complaints, but is abruptly interrupted by a frantic adventurer bursting through the doors. Adelbert, his expression stern, demands to know the reason for the interruption, as the nervous adventurer stammers to explain. The adventurer, his voice laced with urgency, reveals the shocking news: guilds from other regions are already on the move. In Doron Fortress of the Northern Alliance, a warcry erupts as muscular warriors, fueled by rage, declare their intent to storm the demon realm and decapitate the demon bastards. In Germanium, the capital of the Bismarck Empire, warriors rally, refusing to let the Northern Alliance claim all the glory, and charge towards a glowing purple portal, eager to enter the demon realm. In Babylon, capital of the Felix Holy Kingdom, a radiant warrior rallies his forces, proclaiming divine backing as they prepare to join the charge, invoking the heavenly god. In the demon realm, the cat-eared woman reports to Astaroth that the mentally manipulated humans are ready, to which Astaroth responds, confirming their plan to lure the adventurers deeper into their trap. Astaroth instructs the cat-eared woman to send the adventurers to Soder City in the Holy Kingdom dead last, citing a particularly troublesome human there, prompting the cat-eared woman to question the identity of this formidable individual. A system prompt reveals that tricky enemies exist in the human realm, highlighting Adelbert Grants, the Soder City Guild Master and finest assassin, as one such formidable opponent whose delayed reaction was intentionally orchestrated by Nahan. A blue-haired demon captain, Baruna, points out the swarming adventurers, confirming the success of Lord Nahan's plan, which the cat-eared woman acknowledges with satisfaction.
The cat-eared woman expresses her awe at Lord Nahan's brilliance, reminding Baruna that they must execute their part flawlessly for the plan's completion, to which she affirms her full awareness. A male demon commander barks orders to his armored subordinates, instructing them to capture as many adventurers as possible using magic net cannons, receiving a resounding yes, Vice Captain, in response. 3 adventurers look up in confusion as the sky suddenly darkens, realizing too late that a massive, winged gargoyle is descending upon them. The gargoyle descends with devastating force, its landing creating a powerful shockwave as blood splatters across the ground, its eyes glowing with malevolent power. 2 adventurers recoil in terror, their voices trembling as they identify the monstrous creature, a gargoyle. Gargoyle, identified as Argol, declares its intent to eliminate intruders by the will of its liege, unleashing a devastating attack that sends adventurers screaming and scattering. The cat-eared woman seizes the moment, issuing a decisive command to fire the magic net cannons, targeting the adventurers precisely where their formation has broken. A demon soldier barks the order to load the cannons, his voice cutting through the chaos as the magic net cannons are prepared for deployment. With a thunderous command, the magic net cannons unleash their payload, sending glowing, intricate webs hurtling across the battlefield. Adventurers cry out in frustration, caught in the sudden nets, some attempting to rip them apart, only for a panicked voice to reveal their true nature, webs woven from giant spiders. A blinding flash of golden energy erupts, a powerful slash tearing through the magic net with ease. Joseph Rosenbach, a muscular warrior, carves a path through the entanglement, his face etched with fierce determination as he cuts through the formidable net. An adventurer shouts in relief and awe, recognizing the powerful figure who just broke free, Lord Rosenbach. AAA-class crusader Joseph Rosenbach stands resolute, declaring his intention to break through the enemy's path and commanding the other adventurers to follow his lead. Observing the battlefield, Baruna notes that Argol alone won't be enough to hold back the adventurers, prompting the cat-eared woman to agree that clearing out the immediate surroundings is their priority. The sound of steel clashing echoes across the field as a blade strikes with a heavy thud, signaling the start of a brutal cleanup operation. Shock and disbelief wash over the adventurer's face as he realizes the sheer gap in power, his eyes widening in a moment of pure terror. In a flash of red and black, a silhouette tears through the opposition, leaving only blood and desperation in its wake. The counterattack is absolute. With a cold, mocking smirk, the demonic entity looks down upon his victims, dismissing them as nothing more than incompetent pests ruining his flow. Standing tall amidst the carnage, the purple aura guardian looms over a fallen adventurer, the battlefield now completely under his control. Total panic sets in. The remaining adventurers drop their weapons and scramble for their lives, but the voice following them warns that it is already far too late. The demonic commander issues a final, chilling order: play with the survivors for a moment, then capture every single one of them alive. Inside the Grand Hall, Rain reviews the results. He notes with satisfaction that the casualties were low while the returns were high, praising his team for a job well done. Rain turns his attention to Epsilon and the other officers, personally thanking them for returning safely from the front lines of the 5th Army Corps. Epsilon and his vice-captain bow deeply, their loyalty unwavering as they offer their gratitude to Rain for his leadership. The heavy ornate doors of the inner chambers creak open, revealing the quiet sanctuary where the true planning begins. Rain enters the room and finds Seer busy with her dessert. He asks if she's been waiting long, but she happily chirps back that she's just been enjoying her pudding. Transitioning back to business, Rain instructs Cain to prepare a strategic leak to the Demon Realm merchants, specifically selecting the 200 most valuable prisoners. Cain is visibly taken aback by the order to return the rest of the humans, questioning if Rain is seriously considering negotiations with the human nations. Cain warns that they are still too weak to stir up trouble against the human world, advising Rain that such a move might be premature. He reminds Rain of the threats they face, starting with the Felix Holy Kingdom, the only religious state in the human realm and a bastion of divine power. Next is the Bismarck Empire, a formidable power and the only nation to officially declare itself an empire, led by a prideful monarch. And finally, the Northern Alliance, a defensive pact formed by 7 northern castles that presents a unified front against any outside aggression. Rain acknowledges their strength but counters that avoiding negotiations is the real mistake, as these nations are currently unable to mobilize an army. Seer tilts her head in confusion, asking why they can't fight if they're so strong. Rain explains that the blame for this conflict lies entirely with the captured humans. He smirks, explaining that by offering to settle the matter with money, they force the human leaders into a corner. If they refuse, they lose the trust of their own people. Rain pats Seer's head, teaching her that for a demon king, maintaining power and influence is the most important rule of all. Cain bows in acceptance of the plan, agreeing to select the 200 high-value targets and summoning the most skilled blacksmiths to begin the next phase. Seer wonders if learning from humans will actually be profitable, to which Rain simply replies with a confident probably. In the Bismarck Empire, Emperor Claude reads the letter with pure disdain, shocked that mere demons would dare to send such a demand to his playground. The imperial court is in an uproar. The ministers worry that the demons have developed an ambition to swallow the human realm, a change they never expected. A minister reports the staggering ransom: 50 kilograms of gold, 200 kilograms of silver, and 2 tons of iron ore just for the return of 20 people. Claude is furious, feeling underestimated. However, Marquis Levin Ebert interjects, urging the emperor to accept the demands for the sake of the citizens. The Marquis argues that since the incident was caused by the arbitrary actions of the Adventurer Guild, the Empire has no justification to punish the demons. Claude snaps back, asking if justification matters against demons. The Marquis calmly explains that they currently have no grasp of the demon realm's true military strength. He points out that many A-class adventurers whose skills rival knighted nobles were captured without a single one escaping. The threat is real. Claude slams his fist down in a rage. He loathes the idea of the Great Bismarck Empire bowing to demons over such a trivial matter. The Marquis warns that public sentiment will turn if the emperor abandons his citizens. Reluctantly, Claude gives the order to agree to the trade. With eyes burning with cold fury, Claude vows that the empire will repay this humiliation one day. This is not peace, it's a temporary truce. Back in the demon realm, Kane reports that the major human powers have all agreed to the negotiations. Rain breathes a sigh of relief. Rain orders the prisoners to be moved to the portal zone by tomorrow morning, setting the stage for the official exchange. His eyes glow with a lethal intensity as he adds a final condition: if they don't agree to everything by the end of the week, the rest will be disposed of. Outside, the orc subordinates and other demons whisper in confusion, wondering why the Demon King has summoned such a massive gathering. The crowd falls silent as Rain, Seer, and Citri emerge together. The sight of the three powers united leaves the onlookers in absolute awe of their master's influence. Formidable Citri, flanked by the young Seer, addresses the assembled artisans. With a commanding presence, she welcomes them, acknowledging their likely curiosity about this unexpected gathering. A collection of human armaments, from intricate sword hilts to rows of bows and arrows, gleams on a grand platform, bathed in an ethereal light. The display alone suggests a significant revelation. Citri directs the artisans' attention to the platform, where the meticulously arranged weapons stand as silent testament to human craftsmanship. The orc subordinates lean in, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. They question the origin of such masterpieces, eager for a closer inspection, recognizing the unparalleled quality. Citri reveals the truth: these impressive weapons were plundered from human adventurers, a stark reminder of the outside world's capabilities. One orc subordinate scoffs, expressing utter disdain that such finely crafted items could originate from mere humans, claiming the sight offends his eyes. Citri, with unwavering resolve, declares the true purpose of their assembly: to meticulously analyze these human armaments and replicate their quality to the highest possible standard. Rain steps forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs. He commands them to cease wasting time on inferior creations and immediately begin their research, asserting his authority over the process. An orc subordinate challenges Rain's reckless words, despite his status as Seer's master. Rain, unflustered, dismisses their protest, stating he speaks only facts, leaving the orcs bewildered. Rain's hand grips a sword, its polished blade reflecting his intent. He prepares a demonstration, his question hanging heavy in the air, challenging their pride and skill. With a powerful stance, Rain holds up a human-made sword. He poses a direct, unsettling question: which blade would shatter first in a clash between their creations and human craftsmanship? The orc subordinates gulp, their faces contorted in fear and dawning realization. Rain's challenge has struck a nerve, exposing the undeniable gap in quality. Rain stands amidst shattered blades, a clear visual of his point. He urges the artisans not to simply mimic, but to innovate, to transcend human armaments, reminding them of their deep-seated hatred for humanity. Despite their initial reluctance to study human crafts, a brave orc subordinate, Dungrik, steps forward, declaring his willingness to try. His peers react with surprise at his unexpected resolve. Rain, seizing the moment, proposes Dungrik as the leader for this new initiative. Seer enthusiastically agrees, while Citri, ever composed, offers her approval. As dissent rises from the other artisans, Rain's eyes narrow, his gaze chilling. He silences their protests, asserting that true leadership belongs to those who take responsibility, not those who merely complain. Rain's hand gestures, emphasizing his words. He warns that defying Dungrik's new leadership is tantamount to defying the two sovereigns present, a direct challenge to their authority. His eyes glow with a menacing, dark energy as Rain delivers the ultimate threat: any insubordination will be met with immediate execution, leaving no room for argument. Faced with Rain's overwhelming power and chilling decree, an orc subordinate immediately prostrates himself, humbling himself before the formidable master. In a more relaxed setting, Rain sips tea, confirming with Citri that he intends to use her name as the official front for this new operation, making her the designated master of the 70th floor. Rain casually offers Citri a 50% cut, but Seer, ever protective, quickly interjects, calling Citri a crook and refusing to let Rain use her name for such a deal. Citri reacts with indignation, protesting that Rain is leveraging her name for the entire operation. Rain, unfazed, simply states he will find another way, further irritating her. Panicked, Citri quickly lowers her demand, desperately offering 10%, realizing Rain is serious about cutting her out. Rain, with glowing purple eyes, dismisses her attempts as shameless. He makes it clear that if she insists on 10%, she can forget about the armaments project entirely, leaving Citri momentarily speechless. Citri, regaining her composure, argues that profits carry inherent risk and sales fluctuate. She emphasizes that this is Rain's operation and the quality of his armaments will be in a league of its own, demanding a fair share. Rain, holding up a hand, proposes a final 5% cut. He assures Citri that while the percentage may seem low, the sheer scale of the operation will guarantee a substantial payout. Citri internally questions Rain's confidence, as the project hasn't even begun. Rain, feigning hurt, expresses his sorrow that she still distrusts him after all he has demonstrated. Rain explains that for a demon king, relying solely on standard weaponry becomes meaningless. True power lies in superior armaments. Citri concedes that armament research had been neglected, causing their forces to fall behind human capabilities. The necessity for change is undeniable. Rain concludes with a confident smile, reiterating that a demon king cannot govern through strength alone. He emphasizes the critical importance of army armament levels, which is precisely why Citri accepted his proposal in the first place. Rain, with that same confident smile, assures Citri that with their research data, matching the enemy's armament levels will be swift. Citri, seemingly relieved, acknowledges his words. With a slight challenge in his voice, Rain then states that if she has any lingering doubts, she is free to walk away from the deal. Citri, now visibly agitated, demands to know when she ever expressed such doubts, questioning why she would abandon an opportunity to arm her forces for free. Rain, with a cool demeanor, simply states that it isn't free. Citri's fury erupts, her voice rising in disbelief. She confronts Rain, accusing him of changing his story after they had already signed the contract, demanding to know why he would renege on his promise to provide the armaments for free. Rain calmly explains that the armaments and profits provided are not a gift but a rental fee. He clarifies that Citri will shoulder all the risk, and if the venture fails, it will be her reputation as a demon king that suffers. A chilling realization dawns on Citri's face as she demands to know what risk Rain is referring to. Her eyes widen in horror as she finally understands, sputtering a furious accusation at him. With a chilling smirk and a finger glowing with malevolent red energy, Rain declares that nothing in this world is truly free, addressing Citri in a tone that implies she's just learned a harsh lesson. The scene shifts dramatically to a grim, stone dungeon, its heavy metal gate casting long shadows, hinting at the despair within. Chained within the bleak dungeon, a group of prisoners huddle together in despair. The pink-haired girl, Eri, asks the white-haired boy, Dane, what he thinks happened to someone named Luke, and if they will even survive. Dane, trying to maintain a semblance of hope, urges Eri not to give up just yet. A heavily armored guard roughly seizes one of the male prisoners, who lets out a pained grunt as he is pulled away. Male prisoner struggles violently against the guard's grip, shouting desperately for him to let go. Rain, flanked by two armored guards, approaches the remaining prisoners, Dane and Eri. He instructs his guards to loosen their grip slightly. Eri, with a mix of fear and defiance, then demands to know where they are being taken. Rain fixes his gaze upon the two prisoners, asking them their names. The pink-haired girl hesitantly replies, Eri, followed by the white-haired boy, who quietly states, it's Dane. Rain's expression turns serious as he asks if they know someone named Luke, his golden eyes piercing. Rain explodes in outrage, demanding if Rain is joking, while Eri furiously accuses Rain's group of being the ones who captured Luke. Rain simply observes their reactions, confirming his suspicion that Luke was captured alongside them. A knowing smirk plays on Rain's lips as he processes their outburst, stating, right, so that's how it happened. He then confirms his intel, noting that Luke was operating out of Sodor City. Rain stands beside Kane, holding a document, a subtle smirk on his face. Kane looks at him with a questioning expression. Rain gestures towards a projected image on the ground, a clear depiction of Luke. He then turns to Dane and Eri, asking if they recognize the person. The image reveals Luke, a young man with a stern expression. Both Dane and Eri gasp in unison, Luke, before demanding to know how Rain knows him. Rain turns to Kane, inquiring if Luke was present during that adjustment operation Captain Lin conducted earlier. Kane, flustered, confirms that Luke was indeed sent to Sodor City. Rain ascends a grand staircase, his steps echoing softly in the opulent hall. As Rain continues his ascent, he muses that the human realm factions pose as much a threat as the demon kings from other floors. He recalls from the game's mechanics that if humanity's hostility level reaches a critical threshold, three powerful heroes will inevitably appear. Grim realization crosses Rain's mind. One of those prophesied heroes is exactly who he suspects. The vision solidifies, revealing a majestic, armored warrior with flowing blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. This is Luke, the legendary hero of the sword. Rain's thoughts continue to race as he walks, considering that if Adelberg is involved, he would never leave a mind-controlled human unattended.
A subtle, cunning smirk plays on Rain's face as he sits, pleased with the thought that he might be able to dispose of one of the legendary heroes without even lifting a finger.
Rain's gaze falls upon Dane and Eri, recognizing them as Luke's trusted assistants.
He recalls their outstanding potential from the game, deeming it a waste to simply sell them off as slaves.
Rain, with a direct gaze, makes them an unexpected offer. You two, work under me. Kane, shocked by Rain's proposal, questions his decision.
Rain explains that he cannot place them under Seer's direct command, as keeping humans around would only cause her backlash. Kane concedes Rain's point about Seer, but still questions why the royal tutor himself would take in mere humans. Rain, however, dismisses his concerns with a firm, "I know what I'm doing, so don't worry about it."
Rain, enveloped in a dark, sinister aura, looks down at the terrified Dane and Eri.
He offers them a stark choice. Not only will he spare their lives, but he will also compensate them for their abilities. Rain, with a chilling smile, informs them they are free to refuse, but their refusal simply means a return to the dungeon, with nothing changing. Dane, his voice trembling, asks what fate awaits them if they are indeed locked back in the dungeon. Dane, utterly enraged, accuses Rain of speaking with such a straight face despite having been the ones who dragged Luke away. Rain calmly retorts, acknowledging their role in Luke's capture but denying responsibility for his death. The sinister smirk in one eye glowing ominously, Rain reveals the true culprit, the guildmaster of Soder City. He claims he merely sent Luke on an errand, and it was that human who killed him, leaving them to decide whether to believe his manipulative words.
Rain presses them for a decision, demanding they make their choice. Will they work under him? Eri looks utterly shocked, while Dane appears defeated. Dane, still conflicted by the idea of working under a demon, desperately seeks reassurance from Rain, asking if he truly intends to let them live. With a determined glint in her eyes, Eri makes her choice, declaring, "I'll do it." The weight of past humiliations presses down, fueling her resolve. She recounts the bitter truth: if you're poor, they ignore you. If you're weak, they despise you. You know exactly how they treated us.
Tears stream down Seer's face as she screams her desperate vow, "I'll take whatever chance I can get." A surge of powerful, ominous energy erupts, sealing the desperate pact. Even if it means making a deal with the devil himself, Seer's determination shines through as Citri, the very embodiment of that deal, appears with a chilling smile. Rain grits his teeth, the weight of their decision etched onto his face as the deal is struck.
Seer, resolute, confirms her commitment to Rain, asking, "I'm in too. Just keep your promise. What do we have to do?" Rain's reply is stark: "Train."
As Rain turns to leave, he delivers a harsh truth: "Because right now, you're absolutely useless to me." Citri, ever the manipulator, sets the terms: "You have 3 years. Prove your worth. If you can't, you'd better assume you won't have a future." Days later, the training begins in earnest. Chibi Rain announces, "Today is swordsmanship class," to which Chibi Seer enthusiastically responds, "I love swordsmanship."
Rain, recalling the former body's memories, realizes his inherent skill.
He thinks, "Looking at the memories of the body I possessed, he was actually quite decent at it. I should at least be able to teach her the basics." He then addresses Seer, "Seer, before we begin the lesson." Seer, clutching her beloved stuffed animal, Whitey, asks with a shocked expression, "Wadash? But then, what about Whitey?" Rain's condition is firm. "That's right. If you want to take the class, you'll have to part with him." Rain internally acknowledges the difficulty, thinking, it's her father's legacy after all. It won't be easy for her. Seer, however, finds a compromise, asking, "It's okay if it's just for a little while, right?" Rain reassures her, "Right. You only need to set him aside while we train." He observes her willingness, realizing, she must trust me quite a bit to be willing to give up Whitey like that. With a final, determined glance at Whitey, Seer promises, "I'll be right back, so just wait a little bit." Rain takes the sword, instructing, "I'll start by showing you the basic stance. Seer, now, grip the sword like this." Seer, mimicking Rain's posture perfectly, asks, "Is this right, teacher?" Seer proudly declares, "No, this is the first time. You're my very first teacher." Rain, observing her, notes she's handling the sword of blood tears with ease, and her form is already flawless. I suppose she isn't a demon king for nothing. Rain focuses on the fundamental, explaining, "Today, we're going to focus entirely on the swing. It is the foundation of all swordplay. Watch closely." He executes a powerful, fluid swing, demonstrating the perfect form. Seer watches, utterly captivated and amazed by Rain's mastery. Chibi Rain then prompts her, "Did you catch that? Now it's your turn." "I'll be right here to watch." Chibi Seer eagerly responds, "Yes, teacher." Rain steps back, allowing Seer to take her stance, her small hands gripping the sword of blood tears. With a surge of power, Seer unleashes her own swing, a crimson aura emanating from her blade, overseen by Rain's shadowy presence. The force of her strike is immense, slicing through the air with destructive power. The ground itself cracks and splinters from the sheer impact of Seer's practice swing. A bead of sweat forms on Rain's brow as he witnesses the unexpected power, his golden eyes widening in surprise. Rain internally marvels, "The sword of blood tears. I didn't expect it to manifest like this. It's nothing like the game." A system notification reveals its true power: Sword of blood tears, equip effect, all stats plus 500%.
Beaming, Seer asks, Teacher, was that right? Is that how I'm supposed to do it? Rain, still processing, manages a hesitant, why yeah, you did, wonderful. Staring at the massive crater, Rain decides, anyway, I think we'd better call it a day for our lesson. From now on, we're definitely using wooden swords for practice. Seer, deep in thought, suddenly remembers something important. Oh, that's right. By the way. She informs a startled Rain, it seems humans have entered the castle. I even saw a woman among them. Care to explain what's going on? Rain feigns ignorance, responding, pardon? They aren't my disciples. They're studying on their own. I only teach you. Seer, unconvinced, calls him out. That's a lie, you teach Citri too. Rain quickly clarifies, that's a transaction. Maintaining a smooth relationship with him will be a great help to you. With a hopeful expression, Seer asks, then, teacher, you'll always be my teacher alone, right? Rain smiles warmly, reassuring her, of course, you're my only disciple. Rain, his expression filled with a subtle concern, sighs, admitting, I have a concern. Turning to Citri, Rain questions her timing, asking, do you really have to say that right now? Citri, annoyed by his remark, retorts, is there a separate timing for saying things like this? Citri, trying to coax him, says, well, fine, what is it? Tell this big sister. Rain, however, dismisses her attempt at familiarity, muttering, big sister, my foot. If you nitpick every little thing, I won't listen. Rain finally reveals the subject of his worry, stating, it's about Seer. Citri, intrigued, asks, Seer, did something happen between you two? Did you fight, maybe? Rain then teases, and if I said I had to quit because of that? Citri laughs nervously, trying to cover her reaction. What about my face? Ha ha ha. Rain sighs, dismissing her, sigh. Stop having useless thoughts. I won't be leaving the 72nd floor. Shifting the topic, Rain states, fine. More importantly, Lord Seer likes lots of things, doesn't he? Dolls, pudding, oh, and cake too. Citri, considering the options, finds them too simplistic, asking, isn't that too simple? Citri, with a knowing look, deduces, so you want to give him a special present? Rain acknowledges her, saying, not bad. He then adds, I am Seer's first teacher, after all. His internal thoughts reveal his strategic mindset. To reach the ending, favorability is just as important as Seer's growth. Citri suggests, for girls, pretty and sparkly things are the best. Look at how Lord Seer took that crown from the storage room. Rain, deep in thought, concedes, true, though he was too big for him to wear. Citri, tapping her head, offers a solution, then just make it so he can wear that crown. Rain realizes the practicality, responding, oh, I can entrust it to a craftsman. He then internally acknowledges, for once, His Majesty Citri has given a good suggestion. Citri, hearing Rain's internal thought, reacts defensively, what? For once? What's that supposed to mean? Meanwhile, Rain's thoughts are already on the next step. I think the crown is in Seer's room, so if I want to make it a surprise. Hey, are you even listening to me? Rain walks with purpose, wondering aloud, are you sure Seer went to eat snacks? The cat-eared woman, Cecily, confirms with a smile, yes, he is currently eating the pudding Chef Mark gave him in the dining hall. A system message appears, stating, Cecily volunteered for Seer's surprise present operation. Rain's hand reaches for a door handle, the sound of it turning echoing through the quiet hall. Suddenly, Seer bursts into view, excitedly calling out, teacher. Rain is caught off guard, stammering, Seer? Cecily, equally surprised, exclaims, Seer? Oh, what perfect timing. Seer happily explains to a surprised Rain, I felt like teacher was coming to my room. Rain, curious, asks, how did you know that? Seer simply replies, because I can feel teacher's mana. Rain realizes the implications of Seer's sensitivity, muttering, this is. Cecily, worried, thinks he almost found out because of me. Rain asks Seer, but why did you come here? Seer, with an innocent expression, replies, the weather is nice, so I thought we could take a walk together. Rain decides, we'll go walk for a bit. I'm counting on you. Cecily confirms, addressing Rain as Lord Rain, and reassures him, yes, Lord Rain, don't worry. Seer looks up at the night sky, exclaiming, wow, the full moon is so pretty. As they sit together, Rain asks Seer, you like sparkly things, don't you? Seer happily confirms, yes, they're pretty. Rain internally notes, good thing I decided to fix the crown for his birthday present. Rain's expression turns gentle as he advises Seer, you must always stay healthy. You can't get sick like last time, so tell me whenever things get hard. You don't have to force yourself to endure it. Seer reassures him, I like you, teacher, and I like your lessons too, so nothing is hard at all. Rain smiles warmly, accepting her words but adding a condition, all right, but in return, you must tell me if you feel sick. He then thinks, rest is just as important as learning. Seer, with a bright smile, agrees, okay. Rain looks at her, hoping, I hope Seer never loses this pure heart. A system message flashes, mission complete. Rain sighs in relief, his task with Seer temporarily finished. Rain arrives at a bustling workshop, greeting the ore craftsman, Dungrik, it's been a while. The ore craftsman, surprised, asks Rain what brings him there, addressing him as Lord Rain. Rain presents the crown, commissioning the ore craftsman, I'd like to commission some craftsmanship for His Majesty Seer. I want to keep the design the same while reducing the size a little.
The ore craftsman confirms there happens to be a blacksmith who can do this.
When would you need it by?
Rain replies, 1 week. Oh, and please keep what I asked for a secret from His Majesty.
Rain then inquires about another project. By the way, how is the research going?
The ore craftsman responds, we've analyzed and researched it day and night, and we have a prototype, but it's still at a level I'd be embarrassed to show others.
Rain encourages him, that's fine.
Even if it takes time, make it properly and show it to me.
The ore craftsman, grateful, pledges, thank you, I'll make sure to succeed.
As Rain walks away, he thinks, with this, Seer's present preparations are done.
Now what's left is preparing the birthday party. Suddenly, a loud cry of WAAH echoes through the hall. Rain is startled, thinking, what's going on?
Cecily, the cat-eared woman, frantically calls out, Your Majesty, look here. She explains, Lord Rain just stepped out for a little while.
Rain's face shows pure shock.
Cecily cries out, His Majesty, while the green-haired servant laments, pea pudding.
A dramatic declaration appears. He said no.
Seer's tearful face looks up, whispering, Teacher?
Seer cries out,
What?
Teacher?
Rain rushes to her, comforting her, Yes, Teacher is right here.
But what's wrong? Why are you crying?
Cecily explains the situation to Rain. His Majesty came looking for you without knowing Lord Rain was away and this happened. It seems he had thought you had gone away forever.
Rain understands, saying, I see. Teacher only went out for a little errand. I'm sorry I left without saying anything. Let's go inside first. Inside, Rain holds Seer, asking gently, Have you calmed down a little now? I didn't know you would be this startled.
I was careless.
But what were you worried about that made you cry?
Tears welling in her eyes, Seer confesses the source of her distress. She was terrified that her teacher would eventually leave her side. Rain offers a reassuring smile, gently telling her that he will take care of her until she grows up healthy and reaches the pinnacle of her power.
But the fear isn't easily quelled.
Seer looks up, her voice trembling as she asks if he will truly leave once she finally reaches that height.
Rain hesitates.
Internally, he knows his ultimate goal is to reach the ending and return to his own world, a truth he cannot possibly reveal to her. Hiding his internal conflict, Rain pulls her into a hug, promising that he will stay by her side forever. Seer clings to him, seeking confirmation.
To lighten the mood, Rain suggests they go eat pudding together.
Seer agrees, but a dark realization dawns on her. Her teacher has just lied to her for the first time. As Rain carries her through the halls, Seer's thoughts turn cold. She knows that once he achieves his goal, he will leave. To her, that is an unacceptable outcome.
A dark obsession begins to take root.
Since Rain is her teacher, she believes he must remain by her side for all eternity, no matter what it takes. With a chillingly wide smile, Seer resolves that she will never ever let him go.
The bond of teacher and student has twisted into something far more possessive.
1 week passes, and the palace is filled with light and grandeur. It is the day of Seer's birthday, and the festivities are about to begin.
The announcement rings out as Seer and Rain enter the hall.
The guests erupt in cheers, offering their sincere congratulations to the young Majesty. Dressed in a beautiful gown and clutching her teddy bear, Seer waves to the crowd.
The onlookers can't help but comment on how incredibly cute their ruler looks.
A young commander approaches with a smile, presenting a gift that he and his subordinates prepared specifically for the occasion.
Seer's eyes light up with joy.
She thanks him enthusiastically, clearly moved by the pretty present she has received. Nearby, Citri watches with a dismissive air, calling the gift modest. Rain turns to her, asking if they can look forward to her own contribution. With a confident smirk, Citri claps her hands, signaling her servants to bring in her grand surprise. Rain and Seer look on in confusion as a large object is unveiled. Rain wonders if this is supposed to represent Seer herself.
Citri explains that a demon king must know how to display dignity.
She has prepared a massive, glowing golden statue of Seer to command respect. Rain is genuinely surprised, admitting he didn't think Citri was capable of such admirable thoughts. Citri, however, seems to take his compliment as an insult. Seer is absolutely delighted by the statue, giving Citri a big thumbs up. Citri blushes slightly, glad that her efforts were appreciated.
Now, it's time for Rain's gift.
He calls out to his subordinate Dungrik to bring the item forward. The muscular orc subordinate Dungrik presents a small, ornate box. Rain tells Seer that he thinks she will really like what's inside. Excited, Seer hands her beloved teddy bear to Kane, who is shocked to be entrusted with Whitey for the first time.
Seer asks for permission to open the box. Rain nods, encouraging her to go ahead and see what he has prepared.
As the lid opens, a brilliant light spills out.
Seer's eyes sparkle with pure wonder as she lets out a cry of amazement.
Later, Rain carries a beaming Seer through the palace. He asks if she is happy with her birthday, and her response is an enthusiastic yes. Rain notices that as Seer's training progresses, her hair is growing longer and developing more red streaks, a sign that she is successfully storing external mana. Suddenly, Rain stops. He spots something unusual on Seer's head and asks her to hold still for a moment. He brushes back her hair, and his eyes widen in shock. Protruding from her head is a small, sharp horn.
Rain panics, calling out to Cain to see if something is wrong. Cain calmly explains that it's perfectly natural for a demon king to grow horns. Cain watches Rain with a puzzled expression, wondering about his master's past. How could someone as powerful as Rain not know basic demonic biology?
Relieved that she isn't sick, Rain smiles. Seer giggles, reassuring him that she feels perfectly fine. Cain warns Rain that horns are extremely sensitive and must be handled with care. Rain takes the advice to heart, realizing he needs to be more cautious. Later that day, Rain meets with Doomgrik again. He asks if the prototype sword he ordered has been completed. Doomgrik hands over the weapon but seems nervous. He worries about what will happen if the prototype turns out to be a failure. Rain remains composed, telling the orc that failure is simply a part of the process. Experience gained from mistakes can lead to even better results later. He tells Doomgrik not to be so nervous as he takes the sword. The subordinate bows respectfully, grateful for Rain's understanding. Rain unsheathes the blade, inspecting the craftsmanship. On the outside, it looks perfect, but the true test of its power is yet to come. The blade gleams in Rain's hand, its perfection undeniable. He turns to Seer, a gentle smile gracing his lips, and warns her to step back, emphasizing the danger that lies ahead. At the heart of the bustling smithy, Rain stands poised before a sturdy workbench, the newly forged sword resting upon it. Seer and other figures watch from a respectful distance, anticipating his next move. His grip tightens around the hilt, Rain preparing to unleash the sword's true potential. The metal gleams, reflecting the light of anticipation. With a swift, powerful motion, Rain brings the blade down, a blinding flash of light erupting from the impact. The air crackles with raw energy, a testament to the weapon's formidable power. An orc subordinate watches in awe, a bead of sweat tracing down his brow. He utters a single, impressed word, Doomgrik. Rain lowers the sword, its polished surface reflecting the surrounding light with a dazzling brilliance. He acknowledges the effort, stating that they have truly worked hard to achieve this. Two orc subordinates cheer, celebrating their success. Rain, however, contemplates the final stages, noting that with just a final touch-up on the blade's edge, it will be ready for release. Rain places a hand on the shoulder of an orc subordinate, conveying his high expectations. He reminds him that he doesn't grant favors to just anyone, and the orc subordinate eagerly vows to do his absolute best. Seer, with an innocent curiosity, asks Rain if he intends to proceed with that now. Rain confirms, stating that they can indeed begin in earnest. An orc subordinate shares a rumor about incredibly rare weapons being sold on the 70th floor. Another orc subordinate dismisses it as mere gossip, questioning its credibility. Wayne insists it's more than a rumor, claiming they are human weapons. The other orc subordinate speculates they must be looted goods, implying limited quantity, while Wayne adds that they also have self-manufactured weapons. The other orc subordinate remains skeptical, believing they are all the same in the end. Wayne scoffs at the disbelief, acknowledging it could be a baseless rumor but declares his intention to investigate for himself. The other orc subordinate, contemplating the possibility of weapons comparable to human quality, admits it would be worth investing in if true. He then agrees to accompany Wayne, treating it as a mere stroll. A grand window, ornate and gleaming, dominates the scene as a voice calls out, beckoning to Sir Wayne. Wayne and his companion enter a lavish hall, realizing they are in a Demon King's castle. Wayne's companion confirms it's a business venture directly managed by the Demon Kings. Ornate thrones, Rain, Seer, and Citri preside over the grand gathering. A voice welcomes everyone, expressing gratitude for their journey based on a mere rumor. The assembled merchants murmur, surprised by the presence of Her Majesty Seer. They note the well-known alliance between the two Demon Kings, realizing this venture isn't solely Citri's business. A group of figures stands before the thrones, the atmosphere becoming palpably tense as the implications of the Demon King's involvement settle in. Citri, with a confident smirk, announces their proposal, weapons forged by themselves, guaranteeing their quality is on par with human armaments, all in the name of the Demon King. An orc subordinate reacts with shock, questioning the Demon King's confidence in putting her name on the line to guarantee the weapons. Citri lays down the strict terms. Information will only be shared with those committed to a deal. Those unwilling may leave, but those who stay must agree to the terms without question. Citri's power flares, a crimson aura engulfing her as she issues a chilling warning. Anyone who listens to the information and then refuses to trade will not leave alive. Wayne, visibly terrified, stammers a question, asking if Her Majesty is threatening them. Citri dismisses it as merely a forewarning. As some merchants deliberate the excessive demand, Wayne makes his decision, declaring that he will stay. Another merchant wishes Wayne luck. Wayne, however, views this as a prime opportunity to forge connections with two Demon Kings. Citri, observing the remaining 20 merchants, comments on how predictably things unfold. Rain, however, reminds her that this is merely the beginning. Rain steps forward, introducing himself as Nahan, teacher to Sir Von Devata, and the true mastermind behind this entire venture. The merchants are taken aback, questioning if this wasn't Citri's business. Rain clarifies that while Citri is involved, he is the one planning and executing the operation. An orc subordinate gasps in shock, realizing Rain has made the Demon King a mere figurehead.
With a confident gesture, Rain presents the first proposal, a trade of armaments.
They will grant the merchants the right and monopoly to sell their weapons throughout the entire demon realm for 3 years. Rain then reveals the profit split, a 6-to-4 ratio, with them taking the larger share.
Wayne questions the calculation and the sufficiency of a 3-year contract.
Rain explains the profit split as a joint venture where the two stratums divide the profits, making his share slightly larger. Citri, however, internally seethes, calling him a liar and stating she's only taking 5%. Wayne and another merchant analyze the complex intertwining of capital, raw materials, and manpower. Despite the profit split, they conclude that if the weapons are human grade, even 40% will yield immense profit.
A merchant questions if the quality of all these armaments will be guaranteed.
Rain, with a flourish, presents a human sword and their own forged sword, inviting them to compare freely. The merchants inspect the swords, their expressions shifting from curiosity to genuine awe, exclaiming that the quality is truly high level. Wayne holds the forged sword, his eyes wide with realization. He is captivated by the prospect of exclusively selling goods of this caliber for 3 years, admitting to himself that he was wrong this time.
A merchant inquires about the supply quantity.
Rain states they can provide 400 swords a month, 20 per person.
Wayne finds this quantity a bit low for commercialization.
Rain compliments the merchant's quick calculation, then reveals that their armaments are not limited to just swords. A hand snaps, a dramatic revelation implying a wider range of items. The merchants wonder if this includes armor and even helmets, anticipating the full scope of the supply.
Rain confirms their suspicions, declaring that they will be trading most types of armaments.
The merchants collectively gasp, stunned by the sheer scale of the opportunity. The merchant Bennett eagerly lists the vast array of armaments Rain is offering: swords, spears, axes, guards, helmets, and full sets of heavy and light armor.
He believes this immense supply will be more than enough to attract significant business. Rain, observing the merchant's reaction, internally acknowledges the success of his initial proposal.
He considers if he could have pushed for a better ratio, but quickly dismisses the thought, knowing any further pressure might have jeopardized the deal entirely. Turning his attention back to the merchants, Rain, with a subtle smirk, asks about his second proposal. He remarks on how Bennett had caught his eye earlier, signaling a new, more personal interest.
Rain directly asks Bennett for his name.
Upon hearing the reply, Rain's internal thoughts reveal Bennett's significant past as the master of a massive merchant guild. Recognizing his proven abilities and status, Rain decides to bring him to his side. Rain clarifies that not all merchants need to agree to this second proposal, stating that the quantity involved isn't large. Bennett, however, quickly deduces that Rain is implying an extremely high trade value for whatever is about to be revealed. Rain decides against explaining further, asserting it will be faster to simply show them. He instructs them to wait, promising a swift return. Bennett, still slightly bewildered, nervously agrees. As Rain leads the merchants into a dark, foreboding dungeon, the merchants question the destination, wondering what kind of merchandise could possibly be found in such a place. The group descends deeper into the dungeon's cold, stone corridors, the atmosphere growing heavier with each step, heightening the merchants' apprehension. The merchants gasp in horror as they realize the merchandise consists of imprisoned humans.
Shouts of desperation echo from the cells, with one merchant exclaiming, "Why are humans here?" A chilling realization dawns on one of the merchants, who voices the unspoken question: is Rain proposing a slave trade? Rain confirms their suspicions, acknowledging their quick understanding.
He explains that they have already sorted out the useful ones, but warns that the supply of humans will not be consistent in the future.
Recognizing the inherent risks of this trade, Rain states he will not force anyone to participate.
He offers those who wish to trade the option to stay, while the rest can return and wait. Bennett internally muses on the difficulties of controlling human slaves, noting that most demons despise humans. However, he sees potential in the venture. Bennett's internal monologue continues, concluding that while challenging, the trade of human slaves would be immensely profitable, especially for high-ranking nobles who constantly seek new toys. Rain observes that only 5 merchants remain, a suitable number for his plan.
He announces that he will proceed with the explanation, signaling the start of the slave auction.
Rain begins categorizing the slaves, pointing to a group of dejected men in chains, declaring them suitable for manual labor and odd jobs.
Next, Rain indicates a man and a woman, stating they are for entertainment due to their outstanding appearances.
Finally, Rain presents a group of muscular men, explaining they are for escort duty, possessing skills on par with regular human knights.
Bennett considers the escort slaves, finding them useful. However, one of the enslaved men, enraged by the dehumanizing display, lashes out, refusing to rot away as a slave to mere demons. Bennett expresses concern about controlling such defiant slaves, fearing a high likelihood of problems.
Rain, however, remains unfazed, confidently stating that such issues won't happen. As Rain demonstrates his control, a magical symbol glows on the neck of the defiant enslaved man. The man screams in agony, demanding that Rain stop.
The enslaved man's rage turns to desperate threats, vowing to kill Rain and all the demon bastards before his body is consumed by a violent surge of purple energy, leaving only a dark, expanding void. Rain calmly explains that trigger box curses are carved into every slave's neck, capable of being altered by the buyer. The other slaves and merchants watch in terror as the man's body disintegrates. Rain then offers brainwashing as an additional service for those still worried. Rain's eyes glow with a sinister red and golden light as he stares down the terrified merchants, his face twisted in a chilling smirk. He challenges them, asking, "Now, what will you do?" A warning screen appears, urging readers to access the content exclusively on en-thundrasans.com to support the creators and ensure quality. Days later, Bennett's general store on the 69th floor is bustling. Merchants exclaim in awe at the quality of the new armaments, questioning where Bennett acquired such exquisite items. Bennett proudly declares they were supplied through a contract with the 70th floor. One merchant marvels at a shining sword, expressing disbelief at the exquisite quality. Bennett, pleased with the success, oversees the thriving business. Another merchant desperately attempts to secure a supply from Bennett, even offering double the cost. Bennett, however, regretfully explains that his contract dictates exclusive sales, an arrangement that lasts only 3 years. Frustrated merchant accuses Bennett of monopolizing excellent goods. Bennett, walking away with a smug expression, warns the merchant, Wayne, to brace himself for a massive upheaval in the market. Bennett consults with his subordinate Beck, confirming that all preparations are in order. He instructs Beck to leak rumors about the upcoming human slave auction across the entire demon realm, specifically targeting the upper strata. A merchant expresses doubt about the auction, but Bennett confidently asserts it will be welcomed, as those in high positions are constantly starved for new toys. Another merchant internally notes that Rain is no mere man, but a demon. News of the slave auction reaches Citri, who, seated on his throne, acknowledges the proposal and grants permission for it to proceed. Kane observes that despite the inconsistent supply, the method seems decent and commends Rain's shrewdness. Rain, however, internally finds the idea of merely observing the auction somewhat lacking. With a subtle smirk, Rain internally ponders whether he should bring those kids along to the slave auction, hinting at a deeper, more manipulative plan. A few days later, Seer exclaims in awe at the sheer size of Bennett's general store. Rain, smiling, assures her there will be plenty to see as they enter the bustling establishment. Seer, captivated by the sparkly things, anticipates even more dazzling sights. The pink-haired girl and white-haired boy, accompanying them, are stunned to realize the cute child is actually a demon king, questioning why they were brought along for what seems like a shopping trip. Bennett, bowing respectfully, welcomes Rain and Seer, expressing his honor at their visit. Rain inquires if the store has any magic items, to which Bennett eagerly directs them. As they move, Bennett cautiously asks Rain if the accompanying individuals are, by any chance, humans. Rain dismisses his concern, stating it's none of your concern, and Bennett immediately complies, understanding the unspoken implication. Rain leads them into a hidden room, revealing a breathtaking display of glowing, powerful magic items. The sheer quantity and aura of the artifacts fill the space, causing a moment of stunned silence. The pink-haired girl and white-haired boy gaze in utter astonishment at the collection. They exclaim in disbelief, realizing these are not just magic items, but high-grade, perhaps even top-grade, artifacts. The pink-haired girl and white-haired boy gaze in utter astonishment at the collection. They exclaim in disbelief, realizing these are not just magic items, but high-grade, perhaps even top-grade, artifacts. Rain explains that the artifact is capable of storing mana, remarking that since humans cannot generate mana, it should suit her well. The pink-haired girl is taken aback, questioning how he knew that detail. Seer's blue eyes narrow, her thoughts betraying a hint of jealousy as she wonders if she did something wrong. Rain smiles gently, asking Seer if she would like to choose an artifact as well. Seer, holding her teddy bear, beams with joy and enthusiastically agrees. Seer, clutching her teddy bear, excitedly declares to Rain that she will take the sparkling necklace, explaining that she likes it because it is the sparkliest one here. Rain observes the chosen necklace, noting its inherent protection magic and deeming it very nice. Rain instructs Eldon to bill the payment to the 72nd floor and to recommend a suitable magic item for the other child. Eldon, looking slightly flustered, acknowledges the order. Citri, with a sinister smile, announces the next item, a human slave, boasting that thanks to an imprint, they will never rebel against their master. The auctioneer then declares the starting bid at 5 gold coins. The pink-haired girl and white-haired boy exchange worried glances, realizing with a jolt that this public display of a human slave is a direct warning aimed at them. Rain observes the auction, commending Bennett for cleverly resolving the supply issue and simultaneously increasing profits. Pink-haired girl turns to Rain, questioning why he doesn't sell the human slaves, pointing out that they would likely fetch a considerable price. Rain explains that he, too, needs his own hands, just as Seer has Cain, Leah, and Cecily. Seer then asks if it absolutely has to be humans. Rain reassures Seer that humans can be utilized, asking if she trusts him. Seer, with a bright smile, confirms her understanding. Rain turns, addressing Dane and Eri, asking them if they regret taking his hand. Dane and Eri watch in silent horror as the auctioneer declares a human slave sold. Eri thinks to herself that they could have easily ended up in the exact same predicament. Dane declares that joining Rain was the most excellent choice of his life, a sentiment echoed by Eri. Rain, with a subtle glow, expresses his pleasure and looks forward to working with them. The title card appears, proclaiming the story of becoming the teacher of the weakest demon king. The title card reiterates the central theme. Seer's hand reaches out, her long white hair flowing behind her as a surge of magical energy emanates from her. Rain observes Seer, noting her significant improvement in mana manipulation, a testament to her diligent training. Seer, now visibly older and more powerful after 5 years, calls out to Rain, her voice filled with anticipation. Rain commends Seer for her diligent mana training, then suggests they shift to a different topic. Seer, her eyes sparkling, eagerly asks if they are going somewhere fun. Rain explains that while he doesn't know if the upcoming event will be fun, it is a crucial lesson Seer must learn. Seer, however, suggests that if it's about official duties, Rain should handle it himself. Rain firmly reminds her not to find it bothersome, to which she reluctantly agrees. The grand facade of a magnificent castle stands bathed in the warm glow of the sun, hinting at the power and status within its walls. Rain asks Seer if she knows what day it is, to which she admits her ignorance. He then reveals that it is the day their exclusive sales agreement for the armament merge, extended for 2 years, finally comes to an end. Seer speculates that their partners must have contacted them to renegotiate, but Rain confidently states there is no need to accept such a negotiation. Seer, surprised, asks for his reasoning. Rain explains that their armaments are now renowned throughout the entire demon realm, and thus they can easily secure distribution networks without relying on their former partners. Rain adds that the number of merchants dissatisfied with the current monopoly is growing, and they must offer these merchants hope or trade to secure better terms. Rain praises Seer's judgment, agreeing that maintaining the current monopoly is unwise. He suggests creating differentiation to preserve existing relationships, then reveals that it is also the perfect time to expand the human slave business, mentioning the turmoil in the human realm. Seer confirms she has heard about the human realm's unrest. The Northern War, involving the Triager Northern Alliance and the Bismarck Empire, is described as a pivotal in-game event, excluding the human realm, known as the faction expansion chance. Rain reveals that the biggest piece of their plan lies elsewhere, reminding Seer of his initial objective when starting this business. Seer recalls his stated goal, to destroy Dantalian's credibility. Seer gasps in realization. Rain confirms her suspicions, stating that now that the foundation to subjugate the 69th floor has been laid, their plan can proceed. Rain's lips curl into a confident smirk, declaring that it is time to move in earnest. Rain, seated with Seer and another woman, informs the assembled merchants that he will be brief. The exclusive contract will not be extended, as 5 years provided ample benefits. A merchant acknowledges this decision. Rain, with a decisive gesture, announces a new proposal, instructing the merchants to examine the document before any discussion. Rain reveals his terms. The merchants only need to spread a rumor, and in return, he will supply them with more armaments and slaves. The merchant, aghast, stammers a question about the document's contents, addressing someone named Master Nahen. Citri menacingly questions if the information is true. Rain's internal thoughts suggest it might be too early to discuss the 69th floor. The merchant, clearly intimidated, nervously denies the implication. The merchant's internal thoughts swirl with worry. Spreading this rumor would turn the 69th floor in Dantalian into an enemy, yet their current trade with Master Nahen also makes no sense. Seer questions Rain's method, pointing out that they have many other clients. Rain explains that the trust they have built over time dictates giving these merchants the first opportunity. The merchant, understanding the unspoken threat, realizes that if they reject the terms, Rain will simply seek a new partner. The merchant internally concedes that they cannot reject Rain's proposal due to the immense benefits they have received, and more accurately, they simply lack the time to seek alternatives. One merchant states they will comply, followed by another. Rain, with a satisfied smile, thanks them and expresses his anticipation for their continued cooperation. As two figures depart from the Grand Hall, a voice questions the veracity of the information. Even if Dantalian accumulated such power, he is not known for managing his power carefully. The discussion continues regarding Dantalian's precarious financial state. One advisor suggests placating the merchants, while another proposes liquidating inventory to secure immediate funds. However, the first advisor quickly dismisses the idea, declaring that the losses incurred from such a move would be too severe, leaving them without any viable alternative. An elder statesman, addressing His Majesty, grimly advises that enduring a partial trade cutoff is preferable to a complete cessation, reminding them of the fate that befell Andromalius. He continues, emphasizing the critical threat. If they cannot maintain their army due to insufficient funds, Citri will inevitably seize the opportunity to strike. With no other recourse, the desperate decision is made. They must contact Ecarabia to borrow funds, accepting the lesser evil of borrowing rather than being consumed by their rivals. A hand trembles, clutching a document, a silent testament to the immense pressure and the gravity of the choices being made. Meanwhile, Rain, with a cunning smile, reveals his satisfaction, declaring that Dantalian's current struggles are precisely what he desired. Scene shifts to Nahan's new, opulent office, where Rain and Seer are now seated, seemingly observing the unfolding chaos from a position of power. Rain explains to Seer that given Decarabia's nature, even as an ally, they will exploit Dantalian's vulnerability, describing Dantalian's desperate plea for funds as a suicidal move. Seer, holding a document, questions her teacher, Rain, about how he knew Dantalian had stockpiled supplies. Rain casually reveals he learned it from Dane and, in fact, from the game itself. Rain playfully challenges Seer, asking if she distrusts his judgment, to which a flustered Seer quickly denies, insisting that's not the case. Seer, blushing, admits that Rain simply gives her too much attention, while Rain inwardly notes that despite her growth, she still retains her childish moments. With a reassuring gesture, Rain gently pats Seer's head, confirming his words as Seer hides her flustered face behind the document. Rain then asks Seer for her assessment of the information, and she thoughtfully concludes that it is perfect for stirring up conflict. Pleased, Rain smiles, acknowledging her insight, and then transitions, stating he needs Commander Lin to perform a task and asks Seer to relay the request. In the audience chamber of the 72nd floor Demon King Castle, Seer, seated on her throne, welcomes Commander El-Leza, who kneels respectfully, confirming her summons. Seer explains the situation. Dantalian has requested aid from Decarabia, and an envoy from the 68th floor is heading to the 69th, stressing that their meeting would be detrimental to their plans. Rain then confirms the mission, instructing Commander Lin to intercept the envoy with the very sword he presents to her, emphasizing its importance. The cat-eared woman, now identified as Commander Lin, examines the weapon, surprised that it is not one of their own, and deduces from its quality and crest that it was produced on the 69th floor. A look of understanding, mixed with apprehension, crosses Commander Lin's face as she realizes the full scope of Rain's intricate plan, acknowledging its cunning nature. Standing resolute, Commander Lin declares her unwavering commitment to the mission, determined to accomplish it without fail for the sake of Her Majesty, Seer, who is finally demonstrating the qualities of a true ruler. Rain praises Seer, noting that she now truly looks like a demon king. Seer, beaming with pride, immediately demands a reward for her efforts. Rain, with a thoughtful smile, asks her what kind of doll she would like this time, expecting her usual request. However, Seer's expression darkens, and she sternly rejects the suggestion, emphatically stating that she does not want a doll. Turning her back on a bewildered Rain, Seer walks away, leaving him to question what could possibly be wrong to elicit such a reaction. Elsewhere, a group of robed figures discusses their ambush. Their leader reveals the envoy consists of 15 people, instructing each subordinate to take 2, while he and Baruna handle the rest. One of the subordinates raises a concern about the possibility of Pentagram escorting the envoy, admitting that dealing with such monsters would make hiding their identities the least of their worries. Commander Lin, now with her own team, asserts her resolve to deal with the troublesome Pentagram, confident that their actions will not be traced back to them. She then orders everyone to take their positions. The ground shatters as the group moves into action, preparing for the impending confrontation with precision and power. The declaration rings out, "Then shall we begin," as a powerful strike shatters the ground, signaling the immediate start of the battle. The cat-eared woman charges into the fray, a blur of motion as she unleashes a swift, powerful attack. Her eyes burning with fierce resolve, the cat-eared woman commands, "Now, kill them all." The stunned victims reel back, realizing an ambush. As they desperately question, "Who are you people?" Kane, mounted and resolute, gallops forward, his powerful charge scattering the hooded figures. Standing over the fallen, Citri declares that should be enough. Before giving the order, "We're returning." Dantalian, the demon king of the 69th floor, recoils in shock, exclaiming, What? The envoy from the 68th floor has been completely wiped out?" The subordinate confirms grimly, "Yes, Your Majesty. It appears they were murdered," urging, "We must quickly inform Decarabia of this." Dantalian's eyes narrow in concern as he reveals, "The swords left at the scene were our products," prompting a shocked "What?" from his subordinate. The subordinate explains the cunning plot. Decarabia will likely realize someone manipulated the situation, but he'll still use this as an excuse to pressure us even more. In the end, he'll try to turn us from allies into tributaries. Dantalian's anger flares as he concludes, "Therefore, it would be better for us to act first and propose compensation," before realizing, this must be Citri's damn doing. A subordinate rushes in, breathlessly calling out, "Why, Your Majesty?" Dantalian, still on his throne, demands, "What now?" as he hears the alarming news, Decarabia's army. The subordinate reveals the full horror of the situation. Decarabia's army has crossed through the portal. Kane observes, "Your Majesty, the timing is far too perfect. It's almost as though they invaded after preparing in advance." The other subordinate agrees, "That's correct, Your Majesty. Perhaps the annihilation of the envoys was planned by Decarabia all along." Dantalian roars, "That bastard, trying to swallow up our alliance like this?" His fury solidifies into a command, "Deploy all forces to stop Decarabia's invasion." His subordinates respond immediately, "Yes, Your Majesty." Seer sits on her throne as Citri observes. Thus, it appears the 68th floor has invaded the 69th floor. Epsilon remarks, things turned out exactly as teacher predicted. Rain turns to Seer, asking, Seer, would you leave this matter to me? Seer, beaming, replies, of course. Rain smirks, good. We'll reap the fisherman's profit. Seer, puzzled, asks, the fisherman's profit? What does that mean? Rain clarifies, simply put, it means gaining benefits without much effort. Rain instructs Commander Epsilon, prepare for deployment. When the 69th and 68th floors clash, we'll join the war as well. Epsilon, however, voices a concern. Even if we can manage the 69th floor, the military scale of the 68th floor is too much for us to handle. Rain explains his true strategy. I have no intention of fighting a full-scale war. We'll simply chase after Decarabia's rear forces and harass them. Epsilon comprehends, so you want us to draw their attention. Epsilon accepts the order, stating, I accept the order, and then, yes, leave it to me. Seer beams, calling out, I'm counting on you. Rain then addresses the cat-eared woman, and Commander Lin. Evacuate the merchants of the 69th floor to the 70th floor. She acknowledges, understood. However, will those merchants really listen to us? Rain elaborates on the merchants' predicament. The reason merchants flock to the 69th floor is simple. It's safe there and they receive favorable treatment. But recently Dantalion deceived them, and now the 68th floor has invaded. A subtle smirk plays on Rain's lips as he declares, this is the perfect opportunity to take away their trust in Dantalion, especially since the 70th floor will now implement policies favoring merchants as well. Seer inquires, wouldn't that require His Majesty Citri's approval? Rain confidently replies, Citri has no reason to refuse. All he has to do is sit there and collect the money rolling in. Seer, with a grand gesture, commands, everyone, please carry out teacher's words properly. The subordinates respond in unison, yes, Your Majesty. Epsilon and the other armored figures turn and depart, their heavy footsteps echoing as they begin their assigned tasks. Rain observes Seer, asking, Seer, what's wrong? Is there something you don't understand? Seer quickly clarifies, it's not that, I just thought of a good idea. Rain, intrigued, prompts her, tell me. Seer beams, eagerly offering, let me do it. I've been studying diligently in class, and training hard too. Especially since I learned so much magic from you, teacher. Rain gently but firmly declines, no, it's still not your time to step forward yet. Seer, disappointed, asks, then when will that time come? Rain replies, when you've grown a little more. Seer pouts, frustrated, how much longer do I have to grow? She insists, I'm already grown enough. Rain considers, objectively speaking, there's no demon king on the lower floors capable of handling Seer anymore. But Rain's internal thoughts weigh heavily. Objectively, no demon king on the lower floors could stand against Seer. But despite her power, she is still just a child. The thought of Seer being seriously injured, or worse, dying on the battlefield, is a burden Rain cannot bear. Rain reassures Seer, asking her to endure a little longer, declaring he will continue to take the lead until the 68th floor is conquered. Seer looks down, a quiet apology escaping her lips, admitting she feels selfish. Seer looks up, surprised, as Rain offers her a wish, anything she desires, so long as it isn't something unreasonable like joining the war. Seer's face lights up with pure joy. Her wish is simple yet heartfelt, she wants to go on a trip with Rain, anywhere at all. Rain considers, realizing they have never truly traveled together. He smiles, agreeing to her wish. Seer leaps up in excitement, her joy mirroring the feeling she had as a child when her parents announced an outing. Later, Seer lies in bed, surrounded by her teddy bears, her mind racing with excitement. She's so thrilled about the upcoming trip that she can't even sleep. She hugs her teddy bear tightly, her eyes closed in contentment. To Seer, Rain is the most precious person, always by her side, her teacher alone. A determined glint enters her eyes. If she wants to go on a trip with Rain, then this conflict must end quickly. With newfound resolve, she thinks, in that case. Seer's bright blue eyes snap open, now glowing with fierce, unwavering determination. The cat-eared woman, Commander Lin Leza, expresses her surprise, asking Seer why she wishes to join them on the mission. Seer stands firm, asserting her authority. She is the ruler who leads them all. The cat-eared woman acknowledges Seer's greatly improved swordsmanship and the ancient magic she learned from Nahan, admitting Seer would be a great help in combat. However, a deep concern remains. The cat-eared woman bows respectfully, apologizing as she insists that this mission must be carried out by them alone, implying there's a reason Rain kept Seer from the battlefield. Seer, with a challenging glare, questions Commander Lin Leza's loyalty. The commander immediately reaffirms her unwavering service to Seer, no matter what anyone else says. Seer presses the issue, demanding to know which order takes precedence, hers or Rain's. With a confident wink, Seer declares that she will join the commander, effectively overriding any further objections. Cat-eared woman reluctantly concedes, asking Seer to refrain from stepping too far forward, emphasizing the danger should anything happen to her. Seer dismissively replies, got it. Seer stands tall, her sword at her side, a confident smile gracing her lips. She silently promises Rain to finish this quickly so they can finally embark on their trip. On the battlefield, a commander barks urgent orders, block them at all costs. Decarabia's army must not be allowed to approach. With a unified cry of fire, archers on the wall unleash a deadly volley of arrows upon the approaching enemy. Arrows pierce through the armored ranks, and soldiers cry out in pain, "Arg, ugh," as they fall to the ground. A magical device hums, charging with crackling purple energy, preparing to unleash a devastating attack. Multiple magical devices fire in unison, unleashing a barrage of powerful purple energy beams. The command rings out, "Rain it down on them." Devastating explosions rip through the battlefield, sending soldiers flying and eliciting screams of "Gwaff" from the enemy ranks. Large chunks of rock and debris rain down from the sky, a testament to the sheer power of the magical assault. A terrified soldier, his helmet askew, cries out in despair, and no, as the relentless attack continues. Another warrior falls, struck down by the overwhelming force, letting out a pained ugh as blood splatters. Two armored soldiers brace behind their shields, cursing the relentless enemy fire. They realize, with growing despair, that breaking through this barrage is impossible. A powerful magical shield erupts, deflecting the incoming arrows and energy. As a desperate command rings out, "Everyone, fall back." A formidable golden armored warrior descends onto the battlefield, his powerful landing sending a shockwave rippling across the ground. His golden eyes gleam with intense focus as purple energy crackles and swirls around him, preparing for a devastating strike. The golden warrior unleashes a torrent of raw purple energy from his weapon, a powerful attack tearing through the air and impacting the enemy. The golden warrior, Balthazar, the first star of Decarabia's pentagram, reassures his soldiers, telling them not to be afraid. Balthazar stands firm, a powerful presence on the battlefield, declaring his arrival. "I, Balthazar, am here." His presence, as Decarabia's pentagram, promises a shift in the battle's tide. The battlefield erupts in chaos as Dantalian's soldiers panic, exclaiming to their commander, "Your Majesty, there are far too many enemy troops." They fear that with the pentagram now engaged, their chances of victory are dwindling. Dantalian, however, dismisses their fears, muttering, "You useless fools." He observes their panic, noting, "They're acting exactly like the mercenaries we hired them to be." The surge of dark power, Dantalian begins his incantation, green energy swirling around his hands. He mentally commands, "Flames of hell, incinerate my enemies," as a complex magic circle forms. Balthazar, clad in his golden armor, reacts instantly, his eye widening in surprise as he senses the incoming attack. The green flames erupt violently, engulfing Balthazar in a powerful explosion of magic. His allies cry out in alarm, "El Lord Balthazar." Dantalian's soldiers are ecstatic, praising him, "Incredible, Your Majesty. Your Majesty's magic is truly the absolute best." Dantalian, feigning annoyance, orders them, "TSK, start preparing the next attack instead of wasting time flattering me." Believing Balthazar defeated, a general rallies the troops, proclaiming, "Their commander is dead. Now is our chance. All forces, charge." The army surges forward, seizing the perceived advantage. Dantalian smirks, confident in his strategy. He muses, "Defending a castle is naturally far more advantageous than laying siege to one. Furthermore, with the pentagram eliminated, even Leonard can put up a decent fight. The tide of battle has tilted in our favor, Decarabia." As Dantalian's forces push forward, a golden, trident-like weapon streaks through the air with blinding speed, a silent threat against the advancing horde. The golden weapon strikes its target with devastating force, impaling a soldier through the chest in a gruesome display of power, blood splattering across the battlefield. The impaled soldier collapses to the ground, uttering a final, pained arg as life drains from his eyes, the golden weapon still protruding from his body. Balthazar's armored legs step onto the scorched earth, the golden armor gleaming. He comments calmly, "That's quite hot." Standing firm amidst the fading green flames, Balthazar dismisses the attack's impact, stating, "Yet that is all it is." His golden armor remains pristine, a testament to his resilience. Balthazar grips his golden trident, his voice laced with disdain as he addresses his opponent, "How laughable, Dantalian." Standing before the castle, surrounded by fallen foes, Balthazar challenges Dantalian's arrogance. "Did you truly believe you could form an alliance with such a pathetic force and stand as equals with the great His Majesty Decarabia?" Dantalian's face contorts in fury and disbelief, his glasses askew. He roars, "Why, you worthless insect? You only survive thanks to your demonic armor, yet you dare run your mouth?" Balthazar's gaze is unwavering. He retorts, "This demonic armor is also a grace bestowed upon me by His Majesty. Blame your own weakness for failing to pierce even the demonic armor." With a menacing glow in his eye, Balthazar declares his intent, "Since it seems you have nothing left to show, it is about time I." A powerful impact shakes the ground, creating a massive crater as Balthazar unleashes his attack. Suddenly, Balthazar is sent flying backward, propelled by an unseen force, crashing through the air amidst debris. A new figure, Seer, stands casually on the battlefield. She remarks, "Ah, what a shame. He dodged it." Balthazar, now kneeling, looks up in shock, demanding, "Who are you?" Balthazar recognizes her with a gasp, "Seer." "No, Seer von Devata?" Seer grins, confirming her identity, "Yep, it's me." Dantalian observes Seer's arrival, contemplating her motives. He thinks, judging by the situation, it seems she's here to help me, yet she wouldn't deploy her troops without wanting something in return, right? Seer addresses Balthazar. The pentagram's Balthazar, was it? He replies, I am honored that you remembered my name. Seer then questions, by the way, what brings the Demon King of the 72nd floor here? Seer, with a determined expression, states, I have an important schedule to attend to, yet you're getting in the way. So I decided to handle you myself. Balthazar, however, merely smirks. Balthazar dismisses Seer's challenge with a condescending smirk, believing her youth makes her ignorant of her place. Balthazar, raising his weapon, confidently declares his ambition. Well, this works out perfectly. If I conquer all the way down to the 72nd floor while I am at it, my liege will surely be pleased. Seer's hair begins to glow with an ominous red energy, signaling the activation of her power. With a powerful gesture, Seer unleashes her skill, a single word echoing, ignite. A colossal flaming skull manifests, engulfing Balthazar entirely, leaving him stunned and speechless. Balthazar's eyes widen in disbelief. He realizes with shock she bypassed the incantation entirely and cast the spell. His demonic armor begins to burn, and Balthazar curses, damn it, the attack hasn't even landed yet the demonic armor is already burning up. He acknowledges the overwhelming power. Her destructive power isn't even comparable to Dantalian's. Despite the damage, Balthazar's arrogance persists. He thinks, however, it is laughable to think she could defeat me with the mere power of magic. A little child is quite skilled at performing tricks. Balthazar prepares to counterattack, certain that Seer's magic won't be enough to as she closes in with a fierce expression. Seer delivers a swift, devastating blow, sending Balthazar flying and shattering his golden armor. She stands calmly, the battle decided in an instant. Balthazar lies defeated on the ground, his armor broken. Seer looks down at him, unimpressed, remarking, what is this? How anticlimactic. Dantalian stares in utter shock and terror, his mind reeling. He exclaims, what just happened? We couldn't even see her movements. As Dantalian reels from the incomprehensible speed of Seer's attack, one of her subordinates exclaims in awe at their majesty's prowess. However, the cat-eared woman quickly silences him, clearly annoyed by his outburst. Seer, with a casual thought, considers a brutal solution to any potential complications, wondering if simply eliminating all witnesses would ensure their actions remain a secret. The cat-eared woman cautions Seer, pointing out that not all enemies are present and the other factions have likely already been alerted to the situation. Seer simply responds with a chilling "oh, really?" as a new plan forms in her mind. With a menacing glint in her eyes, Seer decides to pin all the blame on the 69th floor, fabricating a story that they were merely passing through when Dantalian desperately begged them for help. From a distance, Eldon observes the small figures of Rain and Seer, his expression filled with apprehension as he senses a profoundly chilling aura emanating from the young Demon King. The cat-eared woman questions the practicality of eliminating so many witnesses, but Seer, undeterred, reiterates her plan to kill them all and align their narrative with Dantalian. Below, the armored soldiers remain utterly bewildered. Seer, holding her crimson blade, recalls her master's teaching to never hesitate in killing and threatening if necessary. The cat-eared woman acknowledges that Seer has indeed learned her lessons quite well. With a confident smile, Seer issues a direct order to her commander, instructing her to simply handle the soldiers. The commander immediately complies, affirming Her Majesty's command. The cat-eared woman, now acting as commander, rallies the forces, declaring that all must prepare for battle and that under Her Majesty's orders they shall annihilate the enemies. From atop the castle wall, Dantalian observes the approaching forces, mistakenly believing the 72nd floor intends to help. His soldiers discuss potential rewards, while Dantalian, already annoyed, vows to deal with these bastards once the war is over. Seer stands defiant, her hand raised as she conjures a powerful, swirling sphere of dark purple energy, crackling with raw magical lightning, ready to unleash its destructive force. Seer unleashes her devastating magical attack, the dark energy swirling ominously before the imposing castle gate as Dantalian and his soldiers watch in growing horror from above. Dantalian, trembling with fear, recognizes Seer von Devata, demanding to know why she is attacking them after their earlier encounter. Seer, eyes blazing, scoffs at Dantalian's accusation, asserting that without her intervention, his castle would have been utterly conquered. She defiantly declares that since she protected it with her own strength, she will do whatever she pleases. Dantalian groans in frustration, finally realizing Seer's true intentions and attempts to dismiss her power, claiming he can easily handle such a level of magic. A system notification flashes, Regeneration Earth. Dispel. Dantalian stares in utter shock, his magic failing as he demands to know why his abilities are not working. Seer's eyes gleam with cold resolve as she tells Dantalian that struggling is futile. She offers him a stark choice, be buried with his castle or take her hand. The castle crumbles under the relentless assault, red energy streaks across the sky, leaving the onlookers to question if this destructive force truly belongs to the Demon King of the 72nd floor.
Rain, standing over the defeated soldiers alongside the cat-eared woman, reflects that he too might have faced a similar fate. He decides it's a prime opportunity to forge a strong alliance with Seer. Dantalion, on his knees, desperately agrees to Seer's terms, pleading for her to stop. Seer, however, reprimands him for his informal address, reminding him of his place as a vassal. Humiliated, Dantalion submits completely, begging her to cease the attack. Seer winks, declaring excellent, and immediately proposes drafting a peace treaty, her victory now absolute and her demands met. Inside the 69th floor Demon King's castle, a tense conference is underway. Rain, Seer, Dantalion, the cat-eared woman, and other figures are gathered around a massive hexagonal table, discussing the newly forged peace treaty. The cat-eared woman, identified as Commander Lin, questions Seer's certainty, noting this is the first time she has disregarded Sir Nahan's counsel. Seer, however, reminds her that she is a Demon King, asserting her ultimate authority. Seer nervously fidgets, worried her master might be displeased, yet she tries to reassure herself that she handled everything well. Commander Lin, however, cannot help but tease her, asking where her earlier imposing presence has vanished to. The conference room doors burst open with a resounding crash as Rain storms in, his voice cutting through the sudden silence, calling out desperately for Seer. A collective gasp fills the conference room as everyone, including Seer, Dantalion, and the cat-eared woman, turns in surprise at Rain's sudden, dramatic entrance. Seer timidly addresses Rain as master, her voice wavering as she struggles to explain her actions, trying to articulate the reason behind what she did. Seer desperately tries to elaborate, repeating that she needs to explain the reason for her actions, her words tumbling out in a rush. Suddenly, Rain pulls Seer into a tight embrace, his initial anger dissolving into overwhelming relief as he holds her close. Rain, his face etched with profound relief, murmurs that Seer is safe, expressing his immense gratitude and peace of mind at finding her unharmed. Seer, still in Rain's arms, looks up in surprise and slight confusion, softly calling out to her master, flustered by his sudden display of affection. In a preceding moment, Rain is informed by Sir Nahan that Her Majesty Seer has headed to the battlefield. Rain reacts with shock, questioning why Seer would do such a dangerous thing. Frustrated that Seer ignored his advice, Rain declares he will see for himself, rushing towards a shimmering blue portal. Sir Nahan tries to reassure him, but then questions if he made a mistake. Rain bursts through the portal, his presence instantly commanding the room. Seer looks up, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stammers out a trembling question, hardly daring to believe her teacher has actually arrived. Without a word, Rain pulls her into a tight, protective embrace. A palpable sense of relief washes over him as he tells her she's finally safe. Overwhelmed with emotion, Seer clings to him, tears welling in her eyes. She whispers her gratitude, the weight of her fear finally lifting, though she still seems dazed by his sudden appearance. The reunion is cut short by the presence of others. Rain calmly requests that everyone leave the room to give them a moment of privacy, but a defiant official stands his ground, questioning who Rain thinks he is to barge in and give orders. Rain's expression darkens, his face obscured by a murderous shadow as his eyes ignite with a terrifying crimson glow. His voice drops to a chilling, low growl as he repeats his command, "I said get out." The official is paralyzed, his pupils shrinking in pure terror. He feels a crushing weight of mana unlike anything he's ever experienced, desperately wondering what kind of monster is standing before him. Once they are alone, the atmosphere softens. Seer sits small in her large throne, admitting she only wanted to be helpful. Rain kneels before her, his tone gentle as he reminds her that such risks weren't necessary. Seer begins to recount her achievements, listing her victories with a mix of pride and anxiety. She conquered the 69th floor, eliminated Balthazar of the Pentagram, and even secured Crowley as a prisoner. Rain offers a warm, reassuring smile. He acknowledges the heavy burden of responsibility she carries but warns her to be more cautious from this point forward. Confused, Seer asks why she should hide her strength. Rain explains the tactical advantage of secrecy, noting that information is power and it's better if the enemy remains ignorant of her true level. Rain turns his attention to the documents on the table, asking if he's looking at the peace treaty. Seer confirms it, inviting him to review the terms they've laid out. As he reads, Rain analyzes the strategic shift. They will move their base of operations to the 69th floor and absorb the local merchants, effectively expanding their influence. He notes that without a power base on the 72nd floor, Dantalion will be stripped of his autonomy, reduced to nothing more than a loyal manager under their control. Rain commends her for a job well done, praising the cleanliness of the operation. Seer's eyes light up as she seizes the moment to ask if he will finally grant her wish. Her excitement is boundless as she waits for his answer, her face beaming with hope and anticipation. Rain keeps her grounded, pointing out that Decorabia isn't the type to sit idly by after such a defeat. Seer realizes the gravity of the situation, her expression shifting to one of serious focus. In a formal war room, the discussion turns to the enemy's military might. Astaroth asks about the size of Decorabia's forces, and the report is staggering: 250,000 infantry, 50,000 cavalry, and over 1,000 mages.
Astaroth finds the numbers concerning, but he's more distracted by Seer's odd behavior.
He wonders if she's offended by his informal way of speaking as she makes a series of strange gestures.
Rain probes further, assuming the 69th floor has been drained of its private soldiers.
Astaroth admits the truth with shame, prompting Rain to search for a way to wage war without destroying the infrastructure they just acquired. Seeing Seer looking dejected, Rain places a comforting hand on her shoulder. He tells her not to be discouraged and to view the current challenges as a valuable lesson learned.
Internally, Rain reflects on his success.
He knows he isn't a genius, he simply has the advantage of having played through these scenarios dozens of times before. He considers the current state of the world, calling it a messed up build. There is one specific way to fix it, though it's a method he'd prefer to avoid using if possible.
Seer is instantly curious, pressing him for details.
Rain brushes it off with a casual smile, claiming it's nothing special while dark, thorny energy swirls in the background. The title card appears, signaling a shift in the narrative as the stakes of the conflict are about to reach a boiling point.
Elsewhere, a furious voice bellows in rage.
The speaker is insulted that their group, the Pentagram, has failed so miserably despite the trust and resources they were given.
Decarabia, the demon king of the 68th floor, slams his hand down in a fit of pique.
His face is contorted with anger as he demands an explanation for the humiliating results. 3 subordinates kneel before him in a state of absolute submission. They beg for one more chance, promising that they will deal with Dantalion and fix their mistakes. Decarabia grants them a final opportunity, but with a gruesome condition. He wants Seer's head delivered to him, and he makes it clear that if they fail again, their own lives will be forfeit.
The subordinates shout their compliance, though as they leave, the bravado begins to fade.
One of them admits to himself that he only talked big to stay alive in that moment.
Grouping in private, the trio is at a loss.
Critch confesses he has no plan, especially since even a powerhouse like Balthazar was taken down so easily. One of them expresses total shock at Balthazar's death, noting that he was supposed to be invincible while wearing his enchanted magic armor.
Rubia slams the table in frustration when accused of not knowing enough.
She snaps back that she was occupied with her own battle and couldn't have known what was happening to Balthazar.
Critch remains skeptical, mockingly acknowledging her impressive excuses.
He notes that retreating was actually the right call if they were truly facing an opponent like Rin El Raza. The final subordinate suggests that Seer might be a reincarnation, given how quickly she built such a formidable force. Despite their fear, they decide on a pitched battle, banking on their superior numbers to crush the opposition through sheer force. Wing's subordinate, her expression resolute, declares that while Citri might be an ally, it will not tolerate any clash.
She cuts through the strategic complexities, asserting that their only logical move is to strike first.
A wider view reveals the other subordinates at the table, absorbing her direct command. She confirms her stance, stating simply, yes. Her next words are a sharp order for everyone to prepare, but her sentence is cut short by an abrupt interruption.
Suddenly, a panicked voice screams, reporting urgent news: the enemy is attacking.
The armored and suited subordinates react with wide-eyed shock and disbelief as the reality of an immediate assault crashes down.
Meanwhile, far from the chaos, a gentle breeze drifts across a serene, sun-drenched landscape. The air feels strangely cozy, a stark contrast to the unfolding battle.
Rain and the cat-eared woman traverse the peaceful terrain. Rain notes that their swift advance has seemingly prevented any ambushes, maintaining a calm demeanor. The cat-eared woman, however, expresses uncertainty, admitting she doesn't know what to make of the situation. Rain, looking surprised, questions her sudden doubt. He elaborates, stating that Rain is always so calculated, never moving without a solid plan in place. Her words imply a deeper concern about the current, seemingly unplanned, progression.
Rain smiles, reassuring her that he isn't blaming her.
He takes responsibility, acknowledging his failure to fully grasp Seer's intentions. The cat-eared woman then asks why he would take such a huge risk. Rain, gesturing expansively, explains that he believes this is the fastest way to minimize casualties. Rain then turns to the cat-eared woman, instructing her to stay behind with the soldiers. Her eyes widen in surprise as she realizes his implication.
She questions if he intends to go alone.
Rain's hand rests on his own arm, a silent affirmation as he definitively states no.
Rain reveals his true plan, declaring that he will take the 2 humans with him. His golden eyes gleam with resolve.
The cat-eared woman expresses her shock at the mention of the humans, clearly unsettled by the decision. Rain, understanding her distrust, acknowledges that she doesn't yet trust them. He explains his reasoning, stating that this is precisely why he is putting the humans to the test today. The pink-haired girl and white-haired boy stand silently beside him. Rain challenges them to prove their growth and worth. The white-haired boy, with a determined expression, responds with a firm yes, sir. As the trio advances, Rain's internal monologue reveals his uncertainty. He questions if he can truly succeed, admitting he only defeated Andromalius easily due to a surprise attack. He acknowledges the strength of his current body but remains unsure of its true limits. Dark, shadowy energy swirls around his hand, reflecting his internal struggle. Rain grapples with the anxiety and uncertainty of the outcome, knowing that he will not get a second chance. His resolve hardens despite the doubt. As they continue, the white-haired boy senses enemies just ahead, commenting on the size of the welcoming party. The ominous presence looms over the horizon. A wide shot reveals the enemy forces crawling all over the valley floor, their banners marking their positions. The scale of the opposing army is immense. Rain, his eyes glowing with intensity, instructs the two humans to back him up when the time comes. He then issues a direct command: "Let's move." Back with the antagonists, the armored subordinate notes that scouts reported the enemy beyond the valley. He observes a lone figure in the distance, questioning if his eyes deceive him. The armored subordinate, seeing only a single individual, wonders if he's seeing correctly. His voice filled with disbelief, he questions if there's truly only one person. The suited subordinate immediately concludes it must be a trap, and the armored subordinate agrees. They decide to wait and send out a scouting party to gauge the enemy's movements. The winged subordinate, now identified as Rubia, suggests the enemy might have simply fled. The suited subordinate dismisses this, arguing it makes no sense after coming all this way. He asserts it's far more likely the enemy is lying in ambush along the ridge. Rubia, however, maintains her stance, sarcastically agreeing that they probably ran off. The suited subordinate muses that if the enemy knows Rubia is present, they might avoid using magic altogether. Rubia, disdainfully, calls them cowards for wanting to believe it's a trap. Impulsively, Rubia declares she'll go check it out herself, launching into the air. The other two subordinates shout for her to wait, but she is already gone. The suited subordinate curses Rubia's recklessness, wondering if she wants to end up like Balthazar. The armored subordinate reassures him, noting she's layered herself in defensive magic. Rubia, soaring through the sky, scoffs at the flightless fools below. She challenges them, asking how long they intend to keep sending scouts. She descends rapidly, her wings spread wide, proclaiming that they should witness the terror of the harpies. Her attack is imminent. Back with Rain, a sinister smile plays on his lips. With a quiet command, he activates a skill, Pierce. A powerful, dark projectile launches from Rain, striking Rubia mid-air. She cries out in shock as the attack connects, blood splattering. Rubia, pierced through the chest, trembles in disbelief and agony. Her eyes wide, she questions if she is truly dying like this, her powerful form failing. She crashes to the ground, defeated. Rain stands over her, his expression unreadable, the swiftness of his counterattack absolute. The suited subordinate, witnessing Rubia's demise, curses in frustration, lamenting her sudden loss. The armored subordinate beside him looks on in shock, both reeling from the unexpected turn of events. Amidst the chaos and despair, a subordinate cries out, demanding to know the identity of this new, terrifying presence. The enigmatic Citri, cloaked in a chilling red aura, dismisses their desperate plea, asserting that they talk too much for people on a battlefield. A piercing, crimson eye flashes, reflecting a cold, merciless intent. A blur of immense power streaks across the ground, signaling an impending, devastating strike. Armored subordinates on horseback brace themselves as a colossal, whale-like creature unleashes a destructive torrent of energy onto the battlefield. The chilling smirk, Citri casually commands his forces to clean this up for me, his eyes gleaming with dark amusement. Citri contemplates the situation, acknowledging the importance of various factors, yet hinting at a singular, overriding element. His voice resonates with sinister confidence, revealing his belief in a single, decisive factor capable of overturning all opposition. The same ominous crimson eye gleams with renewed intensity, underscoring the depth of Citri's power. The massive whale-like creature hovers menacingly, its eye glowing with the same eerie red light, poised to strike again. Citri reiterates his command, a subtle chuckle escaping him as he orders the complete eradication of his foes. The monstrous creature opens its vast maw, preparing to unleash another devastating attack, its power surging visibly. A focused beam of destructive energy slams into an armored subordinate, sending shockwaves through the air. The subordinate screams in agony, desperately pleading for help as the overwhelming power consumes him. A horse rears violently, its rider thrown into disarray, a testament to the chaotic and destructive force unleashed. With a thunderous impact, the whale-like entity crashes down, creating a massive explosion that engulfs the area. An armored subordinate stares in utter disbelief, murmuring that this is a disaster and admitting he has never encountered such power before. Another subordinate on horseback turns away from the devastating scene, perhaps contemplating retreat or a new strategy. A subordinate challenges Citri once more, demanding his identity, to which Citri replies with a cryptic smirk, "Me? I wonder." From a distance, the white-haired boy questions the pink-haired girl if they truly need to intervene in the ongoing battle. Pink-haired girl responds to the white-haired boy, acknowledging their potential non-involvement but hinting at a deeper reason. The pink-haired girl declares their necessity to act, if only to prove their worth. The white-haired boy then affirms their choice, telling her to go, "Dane, I'll back you up." With a determined leap, the white-haired boy launches himself into the fray, trusting in her support as he tells her, "I'm counting on you." A powerful burst of magical energy erupts, signifying the activation of the speed-enhancing spell.
Empowered by the wind, the white-haired boy descends rapidly, a streak of focused power aimed at his target. Surrounded by crackling blue energy, the white-haired boy unleashes a lightning-fast strike with his dagger, shouting, "Take this!" Moves with blinding speed, a blur across the battlefield, closing the distance to his unsuspecting foe. The pink-haired girl watches intently, her expression a mix of anticipation and focused concentration as her spell takes effect. The white-haired boy's attack connects with explosive force, generating a vibrant blue energy impact. An armored subordinate, misjudging the new threat, scoffs that the attacker is finished and orders all units charge dash. Yet, against all expectations, the white-haired boy stands unharmed, his attack complete, poised for his next move, leaving the subordinate's confidence shattered. The white-haired boy, having delivered his decisive blow, remains poised, his eyes glowing with an intense, unwavering resolve, ready for any further challenge. A powerful surge of energy ripples across the sky, a testament to the raw force unleashed in the preceding confrontation. The white-haired boy kneels beside the fallen Lord Dahak, a subordinate's desperate cry echoing, lamenting the defeat of their leader. Eldon, his face contorted in rage, curses the white-haired boy, seething at the audacity of a mere human challenging their demonic might. Epsilon, a monstrous reptilian demon, roars in fury, its body enveloped in a fierce green aura, preparing to unleash a devastating counterattack. Epsilon vows to tear its opponent apart with its bare hands, its monstrous form radiating immense power and primal aggression. Rain, with a swift, elegant motion, draws his sword, cautioning his adversary against losing focus in the heat of battle. Rain strikes Epsilon with brutal efficiency, his attack piercing through the demon's formidable defenses, drawing blood with precise, lethal force. Rain, a cold smirk playing on his lips, warns his defeated foe not to cause further trouble, implying a grim fate awaits if they resist. The pink-haired girl looks on in utter disbelief, questioning if the impossible outcome truly materialized. Seer, with her back turned, questions the pink-haired girl about the whereabouts of her teacher, a hint of concern in her query. Seer beams with pride, realizing her teacher was responsible for the impressive feat, and remarks on his unexpected expressions. Seer, her eyes sparkling, acknowledges the compliment from the pink-haired girl, stating that she certainly knows how to flatter. In a moment of light-hearted banter, the pink-haired girl timidly apologizes for speaking out of turn after Seer playfully questions her intentions. Seer, her expression suddenly stern, interrogates the pink-haired girl about any potential romantic feelings she might harbor for her teacher. Seer dismisses her previous suspicion, retracting her statement after observing the pink-haired girl's reaction, concluding she was mistaken. Rain arrives carrying a person named Dane as Seer looks up, surprised and relieved to see her teacher. Rain confirms Dane's safety while the pink-haired girl expresses gratitude, acknowledging Rain's role in their rescue. Rain questions Seer's presence, to which she enthusiastically replies that she came specifically to meet him. Rain, with a gentle smile, expresses his thanks to Seer for coming to find him. Rain affectionately pats Seer's head, instructing her and Captain Rin to finalize the mission, to which Seer eagerly agrees. Rain commends the white-haired boy and the pink-haired girl for their diligent training over the past 5 years, their expressions indicating deep respect. Rain promises a new mission upon their return, granting them rest until then, and the white-haired boy and pink-haired girl respectfully acknowledge his command. Rain gazes into the distance, a knowing smile on his face as he contemplates his next objective, revealing a deeper, hidden agenda. A horned subordinate, visibly injured and coughing, struggles to his feet within an opulent chamber, clearly overwhelmed by a recent encounter. Seer and the cat-eared woman observe the struggling subordinate, with Seer commenting that his current state is due to their majesties' overwhelming power. The cat-eared woman ponders with a gulp, questioning how Lord Nahan, Rain, could possibly wield such ancient and formidable magic. The cat-eared woman relays Rain's command to the subordinate, stating that their majesty, Lord Nahan, ordered Decorabia to be spared. Subordinate clenches his fist in frustration and pain, the full weight of the situation clearly bearing down on him. The horned subordinate, looking up at Seer and the cat-eared woman, demands to know what they are planning to do. The cat-eared woman, grasping her sword, acknowledges the subordinate's concern, confirming she is aware of the situation. Seer's eyes light up with a dangerous glint as she confirms her orders, asking if she just needs to keep the target alive. A series of heavy impacts echo through the hall, followed by the pained groans of a man who never stood a chance. The cat-eared woman cries out in alarm, realizing that Seer's restraint is quickly becoming a death sentence for their prisoner. Decorabia, now a bloody mess with a swollen face, feebly begs for the sweet release of death. Seer stops, looking genuinely shocked and confused as she wonders why the man is so incredibly fragile. Panic sets in for Seer. She frantically decides to blame the captain, fearing Rain's reaction if he discovers her handiwork. Cat-eared woman stands over the broken body, staring in silence as Seer tries to process the mess she's made. Desperate to cover her tracks, Seer begs the captain to go along with the lie. With a resigned sigh, the cat-eared woman gives in, acknowledging the difficult position they're in. Seer beams with relief, thanking her captain for the unexpected backup.
The atmosphere shifts instantly as Rain strides into the room, his voice cold as he asks exactly what there is to be thankful for. Rain narrows his eyes at the suspicious behavior of the two women, sensing that something is being hidden from him. He gestures toward the heap on the floor, identifying the broken figure as Decorabia. Rain looks down at the bloody hand reaching out from the shadows, his suspicion growing by the second. He issues a stern warning, no lying. If they've done something wrong, he expects the absolute truth. Kneeling beside the victim, Rain bluntly observes that Decorabia is a total mess. Rain lifts the man's head, noting he's still alive despite the brutal beating, while Decorabia continues to beg for death. The cat-eared woman questions Rain's decision to keep such a broken man alive. He points out that Decorabia isn't the type to surrender or cooperate easily. Rain clarifies his intent. He isn't showing mercy, he's merely keeping the man functional enough to extract information. The conversation turns to the nebula stones, which Seer identifies as a specialty of the 68th floor. Rain explains his plan to cross-reference testimonies to find the shifting location of the nebula stone mine. While wiping his hands, Rain casually lies about the violence, claiming he had no choice but to kill the others due to their fierce resistance. Seer points out the flaw in his plan. Brainwashing doesn't work on a demon king. She asks how he intends to make him talk. The sound of clicking heels announces a new arrival, her voice echoing with a sense of long-awaited reunion. The newcomer announces her presence, stating she's here because her help was requested. Citri strides into the room in her elegant female form, mocking the bloody state of Decorabia. She emphasizes the effort she made to arrive quickly, though Seer remains notably silent. Seer feels a chill down her spine, recognizing that same creepy, predatory stare from before. Seer glares back with glowing eyes, blaming Citri for the restrictions on her own visits. Citri hesitates, wondering if using her particular ability in front of a child is a good idea. She wonders if Rain will be satisfied with just a glare once she begins her work. Citri suddenly demands that Rain take Seer and leave the room immediately. Rain is skeptical, questioning if her method truly requires such extreme concentration. Accepting the situation, Rain leads Seer out, promising to wait in the hallway. Once outside, Seer's curiosity takes over, asking how Citri could possibly find the stones. She questions Rain about Citri's abilities, doubting that fire magic is enough for this task. Inside the room, Citri leans in close to the broken Decorabia, her voice a dangerous whisper. Decorabia tries to remain defiant, spitting out that he won't tell her anything. Citri's true power is revealed, the terrifying ability to make any member of the opposite sex fall in love with her forever. The terrifying revelation of Citri's power immediately manifests as her insidious influence takes hold. Citri's voice, laced with an unsettling sweetness, pierces through the silence, demanding answers from Decorabia. You can tell me, can't you, Decorabia? A chilling, triumphant smile spreads across Citri's face, her crimson eyes burning with malevolent satisfaction as her true power fully activates, ensnaring Decorabia's mind. As the flames of forced affection consume him, Citri's voice echoes, promising her heart as a reward, warning him it might be a little hot. Decorabia's mind reels, recognizing the agonizing inferno as the very essence of his newly implanted love. His will utterly shattered, Decorabia's last words are a broken whisper of eternal gratitude and devotion. Thank you, I love you, Citri, as his existence fades into oblivion.